White. Step forward, please.
50-year-old Christian minister Joseph Douglas is suing Christina White, claiming he felt he was a prisoner in the room he rented. He accuses Christina of violence and invasion of privacy. Christina is countersuing for damage to the room and mental and sexual harassment.
Order. All rise. Judges, number 80 on the calendar in the matter of Douglas versus White. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am. Have a seat.
Mr. Douglas, I've read your complaint. I've read your response. Ms. White, don't understand a lot of it. What I gather, sir, is that you rented a room from the defendant.
That's correct.
And things, according to your complaint, became untenable there. You moved out.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're suing the defendant for $5,000.
Yes.
You rented him a room. You say he moved out owing you a month's rent because he didn't give you 30 days' notice. So you're suing him for $5,000.
Plus sexual harassment.
Well, my limit is $5,000, so I assume that everything that you're suing for is part of your $5,000.
That's correct.
This better be good. Let's go.
It's pretty good. I moved in. When I went to apply for the room, I asked for no drinking, no smoke, or little smoking, and no violence of any kind.
Is this a private house?
Yes, it is.
All right.
This was just at the time of the application.
Excuse me?
This was at the time of the application for the room. There were 3 people there, the defendant, Rose, her witness, and another gentleman.
Okay. So, what happened?
The first month I moved in, it was pretty calm, but thereafter it just got worse.
How did it get worse?
The defendant fought with her roommate constantly in the middle of the night. They'd get drunk and fight. They'd throw chairs at each other, beat each other up. This was happening every night.
So why didn't you just tell him you were leaving?
I couldn't afford to at the time.
Just a second. What do you mean you couldn't afford to?
I'm on a fixed income, and it was costing me $450 a month to live there. I didn't have enough money to move, period.
Well, how much did it cost you to move in?
$450. That was, she gave me a break. I just had to pay the first month's rent and half of the second month.
So you didn't have much
No
of an
place
investment
else.
in
Nope.
there, so why couldn't you just move out?
No place else would do that. I had to have first and last month.
Well,
And
that's not the defendant's fault, sir.
I didn't blame the defendant for that.
Well, so
I just could not afford to move.
So what are you
until I moved.
suing the defendant for $5,000 for?
Because she didn't take it. The money that I paid her was supposed to go as part of the rent or part of the mortgage payment. It never got paid.
What does that have to do with you?
A lot, when the mortgage company's going to throw me out.
What does that have to do with you? You're giving up
went in there,
$450. I'm trying to figure out where this $5,000 number came from.
Well, on top of the not paying the rent, my electricity was shut off.
When?
The last part of January.
And how many months had you been living there?
3 months at that time.
How come the electricity got shut off?
Because he took over control of my house. He told all the tenants, because I got notice of trustee's sale, because I'd been trying to save my house after divorce. He got all the tenants together and said, you don't have to pay rent, you don't have to pay any utilities. And they didn't at that point. They all stopped.
Why did he tell the people that they didn't have to pay rent?
Because he said because my house was being supposedly foreclosed, and it didn't.
Oh. So you found, let me understand this. You found out, sir, that the house was in foreclosure. Just a minute. Okay. You found out that the house was in foreclosure.
Yes.
And you had a conversation with the other tenants that if the house was in foreclosure, they didn't have to pay.
No.
That's incorrect. I'm sorry.
Who are you?
I'm the witness. I lived in the household at the same time.
Okay, I'll get to you then.
Thank you.
That's important. Did you step up here on one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay electric?
Yes, ma'am.
You have your proof of that?
I did not bring that. I didn't know I was going to be on trial myself.
When this person moved out, they owed me 2.5 months out of the 4 months they were there. And I'm suing.
This
yes,
lady?
that person right there owes me over 2.5 months. They didn't pay diddly squat to me. And they moved in with this guy.
You have proof
I
you-
do have proof, but it's in Sacramento.
That you paid the last 2 months' rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did not happen.
Sit down. Are you currently living with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Not with. We're sharing an apartment. Yeah, I want that.
I still don't know where we get $5,000 from, Mr. Douglas.
The electricity was shut off. She shut it off. It wasn't shut off because
So-
of the thing.
so-
I had to have it turned back on.
So,
She stole several of my own personal things
Like
from
what?
me. I have a list. Would you like to see it?
sure. A miniature pulpit? What is
Yes.
that?
A friend of mine had a pulpit made for me, a small one,
Why would your friend do that?
because I'm a minister, or was a minister at the time he had it made.
How long ago was that?
2 years.
What kind of a minister?
A Christian minister.
I mean, did you have a congregation?
No, I was a counselor,
Counselor for whom?
marriage counselor.
I'm going to, listen to me. I'm going to read you a few things, and I want you to tell me whether you have any of these things. Ready?
I'm ready.
A miniature pulpit.
That was left in the room and it's still there.
So it's there, ready
Yes.
for him to get.
Yes, I took pictures.
Vinyl and wire lamp stand.
That was left in the room. I have pictures.
Cookie jar.
That is in my case right here. It was left in the room.
2-slice toaster.
That was left in the kitchen where it was left.
Just say,
Okay.
just say, I
Sure.
tell you what,
In
just
kitchen.
say yes. Just
Yeah.
say yes that you have it, okay?
Okay.
Sorted couch pillows.
No,
Lavender blanket.
no.
A year's worth of new magazines.
Left in room.
Footstool.
My property. Extortion.
Your property.
My property.
Okay. Computer, monitor, and stand base. Do you have that?
No, I don't.
Set of 4 relaxation tapes.
No,
Do you
I
have
don't
that?
have this.
All right. You now know what she has. Shep. You now know what she has, and we'll make arrangements for you to go pick them up. Now, what else are you suing her for?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What do you mean you didn't know who this person was?
I didn't know this person was a man.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Minister Joseph Douglas says he rented a room from Christina White but felt trapped in a nightmare. Christina says Joseph was the problem.
Now, what else are you suing her for? So far, I haven't heard anything. We're near $5,000 worth. All that merchandise that she has, you can have back. I still have. Stop looking at your papers. Tell me where $5,000 is, Mr. Douglas.
Your Honor, I went through pure hell living in that house for 4 months.
Then you should have moved, sir.
I couldn't afford to.
That's not her fault.
Well, it is her fault.
No, sir. She didn't charge
She
you. She didn't
guaranteed
charge
me
you.
something when I moved in there, Your Honor.
Okay.
And she didn't fulfill that agreement.
Okay.
And I have a witness to that, too, or a statement from the other witness.
I don't read statements from witnesses. I hear witnesses. I don't take statements from witnesses. So far, if you moved into an apartment, $450 a month rent. She didn't charge you security.
300, please.
She did
300 a month.
$300 a month. She didn't charge you security. She didn't charge you first and last. You didn't bring in a whole bunch of stuff, according to you. And if you couldn't afford to move out, she wasn't saying to you, she didn't keep you prisoner there. You could have moved out. Because you can't sue her for $5,000 because you were unhappy there, sir. You're unhappy, you move. This is America. All right, you are countersuing him for what?
I am countersuing for the damage to my room and house.
Do you what?
For the damage to my room and house. He left the room filthy, and I have pictures of how the room was left and the stuff he left in the room here, if you care to see some of that. May I?
Come on, get somewhere near $5,000, madam.
Okay. We're getting to that right
Well, then
now.
let's get to it, because this
Okay.
other stuff is nonsense.
Okay.
He
This
wasn't
is-
happy living there. You weren't happy having him there. He left, period. End of discussion.
I wish that had been the end of it, ma'am. The mental and sexual harassment.
Well, you can tell me about that.
First of all, when he left, that was a bit of a charade. He promised me a note that he would pay. He sent someone else to pick up the stuff the next day. And then the day after that, on the 9th he sends me this threatening, harassing note. And he
Show it
ends
to him and see
with a
if
note
he-
with, "Have a nice day. It may well be one of your last."
Did you send that note, sir?
Yes, I did.
Can I see it, please? Dear Charles and Christine,
All of his correspondence has been addressed that way. The small claims court was addressed that way.
why do you address the mail like this, sir?
Because that's the way I filed it in court, and I wanted the court to know that I didn't know who this person was until a month before I moved out. That's why I'm angry.
What do you mean you didn't know who this person was?
I didn't know this person was a man.
Because, just a second.
Order.
What? Well, why, sir, would you address mail?
Because I didn't know whose name to send it in, Your Honor.
Well, how was this person introduced to you? How did you...
Christine.
You identified yourself as Christine.
Christine, yes. Totally.
All the time.
All the time. 100%.
Not all the time, Your Honor.
100%.
When she was at home, it was whatever.
I have a witness here that would dispute that. That's ridiculous.
Listen, have you officially changed your gender?
Everything, my legal gender, as shown in my driver's license,
Is female.
changed. Yes, it is.
Okay, and when was
And
that
that's-
done?
About 4 years ago.
Okay. Am I correct that the sexual harassment that you are referring to is the fact that he has addressed documents that he's sent out to people using both your female name and the name
My
Charles?
previous married name, yes.
Okay.
That is just the beginning of it.
Go ahead.
Him and this other person co-conspired to get me fired at my job. They filed 2 Better Business Bureau complaints alleging, Diane was the first one, alleging went into my store and found this person who was, quote, a man dressed as a woman.
Let me see.
And it has my business response to it, and this is also, he followed with the next day one that alleged the same thing. And everything was fraudulent. They said they could talk to my supervisor. It did not happen.
I don't know what this is about. You want to tell me?
This is about them, this person here, claiming they came in my store and saw me as some stranger, and I've known that person for 2
Just a minute.
years.
I'm talking about this
Well,
gentleman. Forget about her.
Okay.
She's not party to this
Okay,
action.
him, he followed up with the same identical thing.
No, Your Honor, that's not true.
It's right there in black and
I
white.
wrote the letter, but I wrote it because I objected to this person working in the women's department.
Just a second. You wrote to the Better Business Bureau advising them that the defendant was working in the women's department of a store
Yes.
and she was actually a man, and you thought that that was wrong.
Yes, I did.
Why did you do that?
Because I think it's wrong.
Did I hear you correctly? Did you just curse in here?
I might have.
Get out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
But I think you've got a lot of nerve with this. This is pretty vindictive. This is pretty vindictive and pretty nasty.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Minister Joseph Douglas and Christina White are at war over rent, invasion of privacy, and allegations of sexual harassment.
That was typical of the situation I lived in. I couldn't do anything.
Then you should have left.
I tried.
Oh, please, give me a break.
I didn't have the money.
That's too bad. That's too bad. That's not her fault. That's not my fault. How old are you, sir?
50.
If you're 50 years old and you didn't have $400 to move out and find another place to live, that's a real problem.
Your Honor.
What?
It would have taken $1,200 to
Didn't
move.
cost you $1,200 to move
I
into her
got lucky.
apartment.
Or I thought I had,
Well, you thought you got lucky, and you didn't.
obviously.
And you didn't. But I think you got a lot of nerve with this. This is pretty vindictive. This is pretty vindictive. Just a second. Pretty vindictive and pretty nasty. This having...
I still object to her working there. I don't care if it's vindictive or nasty to anybody else. She shouldn't be working in a woman's department.
What? Where did you go to divinity school, sir? Where did you
Florida.
graduate from divinity school?
Florida.
What?
Florida.
Give me the name of the school. Just a second. Give me the name of the school.
United Faith Ministry.
United
Bible,
Faith
Yes, Bible College.
And how long did you go to this United
3
Faith
years.
Ministry? When?
1986 through 1989.
Did you graduate from there?
Yes, ma'am.
After 3 years?
Yes.
Divinity school?
Yes.
Where did you go to school before that? You
Where-
don't go to divinity school for 3 years, sir.
Well, I did.
You don't
Your
get a
Honor.
doctor of divinity in 3 years. Unless you
don't
get
have-
unless
I
you
don't
get your
have-
doctor of divinity and
don't
close
have-
the cover before you
I
strike.
do not have a DD, Your Honor.
Huh?
That's a Doctor of Divinity.
Yeah. So what are
Mine
you?
is in religion. It's a PhD, and it's an honorary PhD, but it's still valid.
Right. I just want to make sure we understand each other,
Okay.
sir. Because I understand you. This is a vindictive thing to do. What else?
Well, basically my job was pretty much ruined his career, ruined that
Did you
place.
get fired from your job?
Not
Good.
yet, but it's going
Oh,
back.
that's something.
Okay, I
me
have
see the
also my
letter.
counseling. I've had to start counseling because of what they've done. The sexual harassment and what happened at my work. Because I used to go to work and feel happy, and now I go there and I just feel like I've been raped at my work by this man and this other person.
Yeah.
Thank you. And caused breach of contract by other tenants by saying that they didn't have to pay rent or utilities, and that's the only reason is I ran out
Listen
of
to
money.
me. I'm not entertaining that. The fact that he told other tenants that they did not have to pay rent or utilities, and they listened to him
Yes,
because
they did.
because they were stupid. Go after them in a separate action, each one
Yes.
of them for money that they owe you.
I
What
am.
else?
He interfered with my mortgage contract when they tried to serve me the trustee sale notice, and I was home. He stopped him from doing that, and he got the notice, and he read it, and had him put it on the door. He actually said I wasn't home. Yes.
They posted the notice. That's all it was,
After
Your
you told him
Honor.
I wasn't home. You lied.
They had already posted it.
You lied. I was home.
She's ready to rule.
Listen to me. He has, as abhorrent as I believe it is, he has a right to voice his objection as a citizen under the First Amendment to the Better Business Bureau with regard to someone who he knows is a man who is now a woman working in a woman's shop.
Well, he didn't know that from me, Your Honor.
Well, he may not have known it from you, but that happens to be true. So he has a First Amendment right to write to the Better Business Bureau. His motives, I question, just as I question his reverendship. All right? But that is not actionable. It's not sexual harassment. He's saying that he finds that not a reasonable situation to have you working in a woman's department in a store. Now, I don't know what business is it of his unless he goes in to buy ladies' things and goes into the dressing room, but he's allowed to do that because that's what the First Amendment to the Constitution says he's allowed to do. Listen, you get nothing from this court, sir. Absolutely, positively nothing except within 4 days, escorted. You can go and retrieve the items that you will please have put to one side someplace so we can pick up all the items that he has left in your apartment.
Right, my house.
Now, most of the damages that you are requesting from this court have to do with this harassment and making your life miserable,
Yes. Inside and out.
inside and out. He left without giving you 30 days notice. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I had a 3-day or quit notice, Your Honor, so I left.
You didn't leave within 3 days. You
Just-
hung on.
Just a minute.
Okay.
He left. I would assume, Miss White, that you are very happy to be rid of him,
Very.
that you didn't want him around for an additional 30 days. Correct?
I actually offered he could stay there if he promised to catch up on the rent. and
Just
he
a
didn't.
second. From everything that you've told me,
Yeah.
you were very happy that he moved out when he didn't stay an additional 30 days.
Sure. I mean, at that
Good.
point, yes.
Give him back everything that you owe him. This case is dismissed.
Why does that excuse you may step out?
On the next Judge Judy.
This is a man, we feel very sorry for this man.
You are
and
a cross-dresser who is still married.
That's
You
the
still
point.
have a wife.
How can I sexually harass somebody that is the same
Then
as
you're
you?
sexually harassing me. They're not the same as me. I'm a woman.
No,
Your
you're
driver's
not.
license says you're a
Look at your
man.
Adam's apple, sweetie.
So Adam Apple doesn't mean.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, thanks.
There's no
You're-
woman
you're
in the
still
world.
married.
There's no woman in the world that
26-year-old prison guard Eric Birmingham is suing former inmate Judy Cameroni for libel and slander on the internet. Judy claims he mistreated her while in custody.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 428 on the calendar in the matter of Birmingham versus Cameroni. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
All right, the chronological posture of this case is as follows. You, sir, are employed in a jail.
Yes.
As a guard.
As a deputy, yes, ma'am.
And there came a time when you, Miss Cameroni, were an inmate in that jail, having been convicted of some speeding violation. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You claim that while you were in the jail, you were subjected to maltreatment by the plaintiff.
Yes, that's correct.
You complained to your husband. Is that you?
Yes.
Who sent faxes to the warden.
That's correct.
And as a result of those faxes, you were further mistreated by the plaintiff. Then you served your time, you got out of jail, and you started to write on the internet about the plaintiff and about the things that you suffered from while you were in jail at his hands. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you're suing her for slandering you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever sue him?
No, I did not.
You chose to take out whatever anger that you had by using the computer.
Well, I chose to tell my story through a website instead of suing civilly.
Okay. How long have you been employed as a deputy in the jail, sir?
3 years, ma'am.
And what were you doing in the jail? You were there for the speeding ticket. For how long were you actually incarcerated?
I was incarcerated for 3.5 months.
Why? That was a pretty long time for a speeding ticket.
Well, back in 1993, I had drove my Corvette at 145 miles an hour up the freeway.
Why would you do that?
You know, I realized it was wrong and I shouldn't have done it. You know, and it was a long time ago, and I know it was dangerous. But the treatment that he put me
No,
through...
I'm not getting to the treatment. So that's what you were there for.
Yes.
Now, tell me about the first time you had a contact with him.
That was June 6th of 1997. He was on night duty at the time, and he was assigned to the tower and the walkthroughs. And he would open and shut the door all night, a loud metal door, so I could not sleep. And then when the sergeant came through at 8 a.m. and asked me why I was still sleeping, I told him I couldn't sleep because of the loud door opening and shutting. And the sergeant says, I'll take care of it, it won't happen again. And that took care of that situation. I started having problems again when I filed a habeas with the court, which was not welcome with many of the jail staff.
What kind of habeas?
I was being denied medication that my doctor had prescribed.
What kind of prescriptions were you supposed to be taking? Don't show me letters. Look at me. Stop playing with papers.
Okay. I was supposed to be taking pain medication and Luvox and...
what was that for?
It was for my depression. I went through a court-ordered psychiatric review and...
So you were supposed to be taking medicine,
antidepressants,
psychiatric,
yeah.
for psychiatric problems.
Yes, and then for my insomnia, I was supposed to take something for that.
So you filed a habeas corpus proceeding because you said that they refused to give you that medication.
Right.
And were you ultimately given the medication?
After the habeas corpus proceedings, yes.
Well, what did that have to do with him?
Well, when I had come back from court to the jail, he was the one who removed the handcuffs and the shackles, and he was very rough in twisting my arms. And he was telling me, I hope it was worth it, when he was removing the handcuffs.
So when was the next time you had a problem with him?
Well, after that, I had constant problems with him.
Tell me about them.
And with another inmate. Well, there was a particular inmate in there who...
And now, are these things that you memorialized on your website on the internet?
I didn't go into detail on my website.
Do you have what you complain about, sir, in writing?
Yes,
that she wrote on the internet?
Yes, ma'am. I have parts of it, yes.
Can I see it, please?
The second paragraph on the first page is the beginning of it.
this is an accounting of life in jail and the very unprofessional conduct of 2 deputies in particular, another deputy and yourself, okay, towards her.
Yes, ma'am.
So far this doesn't say anything. I want to see particularly what she says about you so I can address each of those things. Would you have him put a star next to the things that he's actually complaining about so that I could...
Ma'am, that's kind of hard to say.
No, I want to see, sir.
Well,
you are alleging that she either libeled and or slandered you.
Well, that's what I need to explain, ma'am. It's not just what she said. It's the context of my name is now associated with this website on the very first page of it, and it contains words rape, prejudice,
Show me
racism.
where that's alleged that you were any part of that, sir.
By
Show me.
By reading it, ma'am, a normal person reading that will get my name twisted into that and see this.
Just a second. She doesn't allege anywhere in here that you raped her, correct?
No, ma'am.
She doesn't allege anywhere in here that you beat her, correct?
No, ma'am.
It says, gives a whole litany of her experiences in the jail, which may have included those things. But with regard to you, all it says is, the fact is that Deputy Birmingham acted in an unprofessional manner on numerous occasions while she was in custody. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're complaining about.
Why is my name on the internet? This isn't anything to do with free speech. This isn't anything to do with her trying to raise funds to go to Supreme Court or anything like that. This is just her ill will to try to get revenge, and my name doesn't belong on the first page of her website.
Well, you were employed at the jail when she was there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember her when she was an inmate?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Tell me what you remember about her.
I remember basically she'd complain about everything. She accused everybody of doing something wrong. She was just not your model inmate.
Mm-hmm. And how did you react to that, sir?
I didn't care. I was just doing my job, doing my 8 hours and going home.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And he'd say things to me like, I could make it worse for you here. She could snap your little ass right in half.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheriff's Deputy Eric Birmingham says former inmate Judy Cameroni slandered him. Judy says he mistreated her in jail.
Mr. Birmingham, you've been employed according to you for 3 years?
Yes, ma'am.
How many disciplinary proceedings have ever been filed against you?
None, ma'am.
Are you still employed there?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to tell me, madam, what are the things you are specifically complaining about that he did to you? Tell me.
Okay, there was another inmate there who was she was the lover of the jail cook's daughter.
Oh, yeah,
and she was in there for, oh, no.
The lover of the inmates.
The lover of the jail cook's daughter.
Go. Do this one more time.
She was the lover of the jail cook's daughter.
Okay.
Okay. And she was a very tough woman. She had been incarcerated for beating up 2 of their sheriffs. So she was very tough and very large. And she gave me a very difficult time there. Many times she would back me into the wall and threaten to beat me up, and guards would come running to stop her. Every time she would do something bad to me, and it came down to discipline, she was not disciplined. And Deputy Birmingham chose not to discipline her, and many of the times when we had conflicts where she instigated it, he would choose not to discipline her. And it just made matters worse, and I felt it was very unprofessional for him to do this.
What's next?
It's just caused her to be more bold.
What's next?
Well, my husband sent a fax to the sheriff, which he had intercepted, Mr. Birmingham intercepted. He came up to my cell, dumped out my coffee, which I had to purchase through commissary, and he said he was sick and tired of me. He had the fax in his hand, and he says, you better call your husband and tell him not to send any more faxes.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am.
That doesn't sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Birmingham, are you trying to tell me that a fax of complaint was never received by you, indicating that you failed to take steps to protect this then inmate?
No, ma'am.
You never saw that?
No, ma'am.
He came into your cell with the fax?
Yes, he did, and he dumped out my coffee. And I felt that his unprofessional conduct was putting my safety in jeopardy. You know, and he'd say things to me like, I could make it worse for you here. She could snap your little ass right in half, and things like this.
When did he say that to you?
When he had the fax and dumped the coffee out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you still taking medication?
Yes, I am.
Still the antidepressant medication?
Yes.
Were you on that medication before you were incarcerated?
Yes, I was.
Is this the first time you were incarcerated?
Yes, it was my first and only offense, and I haven't committed any crime since.
This was your first and only arrest?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Did you know that?
Frankly, ma'am, I didn't care.
Sure you did. Well, let me tell you why.
I have no business.
Let me tell
to
you
know.
why, Officer Birmingham. Here you're dealing with a woman, married woman, have children.
Baby.
And did something really dumb 4 years before. By the time it got through the process, only arrest, here she's given over 3 months to serve in jail. Pretty frightening prospect, wouldn't you say?
Can I add some clarification there?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, she spent approximately, and I'm not sure the number, 20 days back in 91 or whenever she was first arrested. She was committed after a trial and then got out on an appeal bond. So she had spent 20 to 30 days there already.
So you knew a little bit about her history, Officer.
Mm-hmm.
Now I do. Now I do, yes, ma'am.
Oh, sir. Are you telling me at the time that you folks were having, according to you, lots of difficulty with her husband faxing and everything else, that you didn't open up the file and take a look at it? Are you
I knew what she was there for, yes, ma'am.
Here was an inmate who was given lots of problems, who was not prepared to accept the regular drill of being in jail, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And that presented a certain amount of irritation for all the people in jail. Now, how many guards are there in jail?
It depends on the shift in the day.
Give me some idea of how many people she would have come in contact with between all the shifts.
4 to 5 a shift. It's a small jail.
4 to 5 a shift and 3 shifts a day.
Yes, ma'am.
So 20 people.
Give or say.
She doesn't complain about all 20, right?
Yes, ma'am.
She only complains about really 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, ma'am. If she had such a problem with me, then why didn't she file a complaint with my department?
She did. She complained through him. She complained, sent a fax. I believe her when she says that you walked into her jail cell with the fax, irritated as hell. I believe her. She doesn't accuse you of any criminal behavior. She says that you were guilty of unprofessional behavior. That's a subjective term.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I could pick up the phone, it's only 2 o'clock, and save my little baby. 600-mile round trip. And that she wouldn't see me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Prison guard Eric Birmingham says former inmate Judy Cameroni has damaged his reputation on the internet. She says he mistreated her.
Certainly what she's saying is you failed to protect her from another inmate who was dangerous. And that what you were really telling her was, listen, babe, you better just do your time quietly, stop complaining, stop making a pest out of yourself. Because if you do, there are things that we could do to make your life unpleasant. Is that what you're complaining about?
Yes, and he also, what he did was, the worst thing that he did was, he did a walkthrough, and he told me when I was watching the news sitting on a bunk, stand up, don't sit on the bunk. I sat on the ground. He says, don't sit on the ground, remain standing. So I remained standing. And then he continued the walkthrough upstairs and left. and I had laughed at a sexual remark that another inmate had made towards him, which is not allowed, but he did not discipline her for it because he welcomes these kind of remarks. And I had laughed, I've got dizzy, I sat down, and I got back up, and I knew I shouldn't have sat down on the bunk. So when he came back around the front door, and I was standing right by the phone, and he says, I'm putting you in lockdown, and tomorrow you cannot see your baby. So I told him, look, I'm standing right by the phone. I could pick up the phone, it's only 2 o'clock, and save my little baby the 600-mile round trip. And then she wouldn't see me. He says, I don't care. And I says, well, then you can have someone else call my husband not to make the trip. He would not do that. But you see, here's the disciplinary action he wrote up. And then he also took away my visiting privileges for 2 weeks, and that's all I had left.
Why
And
did you
he
take away
wrote it up.
Why did you take away a visiting
I
privilege?
did not take the visiting away.
What did you do?
It's a disciplinary review board.
What did you write her up for?
If I remember the incident, we had an extra bunk out in the day room area, and the rules state don't use anything it's not intended for, okay? And she was sitting on the bunk watching TV, and like I've told other people or whatever, and told her to sit down over on the tables. But I have no say on whether she loses visits or not. That's the
That's not
disciplinary
my
review board.
question. What this incident that you were talking about, that you wrote her up for,
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
you wrote her up for was because she was sitting on a spare bunk rather than sitting on the table. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Jail is designed to have rules and to have structure, and that's all
Now,
it
did
is.
you know, Officer Birmingham, that she was supposed to have her visiting with her baby on the next day?
No, ma'am.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am.
Doesn't sound familiar.
He
The
knew.
only time they can make appointments for visits is on the day of the visit. So I would have no say or no knowledge of her
Officer
having a
Birmingham, are
visit.
you telling me, sir, that she did not say to you, if you're going to take away my visits, let me call my husband and tell him not to make this 600-mile trip? That doesn't sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am. I don't know.
You don't know. You don't know if it sounds familiar. Is that what you're saying?
I don't remember hearing that, no.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Look, I'm going to resolve this matter very quickly.
Okay.
Officer Birmingham, you are in fact suing her. You are suing her for slander, for saying terrible things about you on the internet, on the website. I don't find that she said anything that was terrible about you. She said that you engaged in unprofessional conduct towards her while she was an inmate in the jail. If I have to make a determination today whether or not any of that is true, I would have to say, yes, I believe that you behaved in an unprofessional manner towards the defendant who was an inmate in your jail. And therefore, your lawsuit would be dismissed because truth is an absolute defense. I believe her, sir, when she says that you took her handcuffs off in a rough fashion, that you came into her room with a fax in your hand, spilled her coffee and said, listen, don't do this again, because I can make, in effect, can make your life unpleasant here. And I do believe that you wrote her up for sitting on a bed rather than sitting on a table, which caused her to lose her visitation privileges with her child. And when asked whether you would please just call her husband not to make the trip, because the trip would be for naught, she was blown off. That, to me, sir, is unprofessional behavior. So your lawsuit's dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thanks, man.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Right.
And on the next Judge Judy.
Well, it's something I should have never done, and it was very dangerous, and I won't ever do it again. But I can't change the past, and I'm sorry for what I did. But in no way did that event back in 1993 justify the unprofessional behavior and the little extra punishment he decided to put upon me because of that.
23-year-old Scott Fitzgerald says he got his girlfriend's name tattooed on his arm when they fell in love. Tattoo removed.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is number 120 on the calendar in the matter of Fitzgerald versus Les Savoy. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
This lawsuit has a lot of parts, so I'm going to try to simplify it. You've known the defendant and dated since you were teenagers, is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
How old are you now?
23.
22.
And now you're not together anymore.
No. Yes.
Let's take the simple ones first.
Okay.
The car.
The rental car.
Right.
Yes.
Tell me what she owes you for the rental car and how you came to lend her the money for this rental car.
Okay, she owes me. I told her that I have a credit card that she can use. However, I had just bought a house and money was kind of tight, so I asked her that when the minimum payments came in, she would make those payments. She agreed, everything was fine. Went down there, left the card. Card had...
She caused to your property.
Yes.
Tell me about this damage when it was caused, sir.
Well, it's hard for me to think of the exact date that it started, so if I can go with this. We broke up in the beginning of March. Not that often, but every 6 months or so, every couple months, she'd throw in a little comment about...
30 in the morning, you call your old boyfriend, you find him on the phone with somebody else, you're annoyed, you get into your car when you were talking. Go ahead.
He grabbed me in his...
An estimate for that.
Did you bang in his car door?
She kicked it in.
Did you kick in his car door?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he was being a jerk like he always...
And that gives you $25 to have somebody come in and weave out this cigarette hole. So you're going to get your money. You want to do that. There's a restraining order against you. Is that
Can
correct?
I send one of my friends over there?
No, he's going to sit you to come again. I assume that if there's any item that is questionable,
I don't want
you'll
any.
use the smart thing either. If he's gone so far as to get a restraining order against you, Miss LeSavoy, I assume he doesn't want you to come again. I assume that if there's any item that is questionable,
I don't want
you'll
any.
use the smart thing. I don't want to create any more difficulty. I assume he does not eat.
On the next Judge Judy.
That's why I took out a restraining order.
Well, that's why I changed my number, moved, and changed my pager number,
Cool,
so...
then stop calling my parents, because that ain't gonna get me back.
I don't want you back. Trust me, I'm happy.
Step forward, please.
Legal Secretary Linda Pruetti is suing her sister, lab worker Shelby Nutter, for emptying their deceased mother's bank accounts.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 472 on the calendar in the matter of Pruetti versus Nutter. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
You two ladies are sisters.
Yes, we are.
According to your complaint, this lawsuit originates over a battle involving your mother's death and
Yes.
a will. Is that right?
Yes.
Miss Nutter, pay attention. I gather from these papers that you two had not been close. Is that right?
That's right.
How long hadn't you spoken before your mother died?
It's been approximately 25 years.
Was your mother ill before she died?
Yes, she was.
I understand that there was a will, correct?
Yes, that's right.
All right. While we're discussing this case, can I see a copy of that will? The lawsuit indicates, Miss Pruetti, that when your mother died, there were two bank accounts, one at the World Bank and one at the Home Savings Bank. According to the terms of this will, one bank account was your sister's, correct?
That's right.
And one was yours.
That's right.
And she emptied out both.
That's right.
So far, is that correct?
Yes. Well, sort of.
Okay. This will is relatively simple. It's signed by your mother. In this will, when did your mother die, by the way?
September the 13th, 1997.
So she made this will 8 years before. She left you a World Savings Bank account.
That she did.
And everything else, she said, that was not listed in here, she gave to your sister Linda. And I assume that the Home Savings Bank account is one that she had when she made out this will. Why did you close it? You closed it and took out all the money.
That's right. That's because she gave it to me. She called me up and asked me. Now, wait a minute. There were two accounts at that bank.
At which bank?
At the World Savings.
So let me see all the accounts that you have there, madam, that you closed out. 440541. All right. So this is the account. Your mother's name is Ruby?
Yes.
I haven't even looked at the other stuff yet. This account she clearly left to you. In this account was $817.50 in September of 1997. And then you closed it.
Yes, ma'am.
So you got $817
Yes, ma'am.
from that account.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, that clearly she left to you. That's on your side. Now, the other World Savings account had $12,996 in it.
Mm-hmm. That's mine, too.
Who says so?
My name is on it, and she gave it to me.
Oh, just a second. I didn't look at that. Well,
Okay.
don't tell me she gave it to you.
Okay.
Let's see. Whose name was this account in? Okay. Absolutely right. So, Miss Pruetti, this account your mother opened as trustee for your sister Shelby. So clearly, when she opened this account, it was her intention to have Shelby be the recipient of these funds. Got it?
Yes.
So, Miss Nutter?
Yes, ma'am.
This is on your side.
Sorry.
This is on your side. Now, let's go look at the Home Savings Bank. Do you have a statement from the Home Savings Bank?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please? Now, you withdrew from the Home Savings Bank $1,296.63.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain to me why you think you have any right to this money.
Because my mother had called me up, and she had asked me if I wanted the mobile home or if I wanted the money. And she didn't say how much money. And I said the money. She says, okay, then that's the way it will be.
Oh, madam, come on. You played fast and loose. That's not right. This clearly your mother intended for you because it has your name on it. Your mother clearly intended anything that was not included in this account at the World Bank to go to your sister. You had a whole laundry list of things that you were getting, and everything else was supposed to be to your sister. Go ahead. You want to tell me something?
Yes, Your Honors. On November 19th, I wrote my sister a letter informing her of the will, telling her that I was going to give her until December 15th in order for her to respond to me.
She'd already taken the money out, right?
By November 19th, yes, she had.
did.
She'd already taken it out.
She took it out in October. Mm-hmm. So what is the point of that?
I let 47 days go by because I was told by my mother that I was the recipient of the home checking account. My sister had not spoken to her mother in at least 12 years.
That's not so.
It doesn't make any difference. Listen, this account is yours.
So I gave her to December 15th in order to respond to me. I let her know that I was aware that she did take the money out, and I was waiting for her to send me a copy of the check with the statement. I then sent her a copy of our mother's will at that time. That's how she got the copy of the will. She did not have a copy of the will prior to going to the bank.
Did you tell her that there was a will?
I read the will to her in her mobile home at the time when my daughter and I went to her mobile home, and when we got word of her death. We read her the will. I gave her the will to view for her own self. She took whatever possessions she wanted. She says, but I'd like to have this, and I want this, and I want that. And I said, it was your mother, too. You take whatever you wanted. She did, Your Honor, take whatever she wanted, and I gladly gave it to her. She told me that our separation had been much, much too long. She hugged me. She took us out to lunch.
I did do that.
She took us out to lunch. She said that she wanted to, Your Honor, divide everything 50-50. Everything. We said our goodbyes at the funeral home on the 4th day. She hugged me. She said goodbye to my children. None of her children went to the funeral. And then off she rode into the sunset with a brand new car that she had bought with a minimal down payment on the day of her death, and went down and bragged to me when I spoke with her that she went down on the day of the funeral, took the money out of the account and paid her car off and laughed. She thought it was hysterical.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Everybody else was crying over her grandma, you know, she died and everything like that. And Aunt Shelby said, gosh, I thought the old lady died, the old bag died 12 years ago. I haven't seen her in so long.
And later today.
Did you fix the cesspool, I hope?
When I asked him for the money, he told me I could, why don't you just use an outhouse?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Linda Pruetti wants her sister, Shelby Nutter, to share the money in their deceased mother's bank accounts.
Miss Pruetti, you understand that I am finding that the money in the accounts at the home bank belonged to you.
Thank you.
That was $1,296.63. That's what was there.
Thank you.
Correct?
Yes.
Well, that's what you're entitled to.
Thank you.
She did the wrong thing. She knows she did the wrong thing. She just beat you to the bank.
That's what she says. She laughed. She thought it was funny. She called me greedy. She says, you're greedy. I thought you would have gotten there before me.
Listen, it sounds to me as if you did pretty well. You got almost, I don't know, how much? $13,000? $14,000? A lot more than $1,296.
Not just that. I got more than that.
Good. Good.
Well, let me tell you. A check came to the house, a dividend check on my account with my name on it. She took it.
How do you know she took it?
Lady 2 doors down called me up and told me so. She saw the amount, told me that I knew
Listen,
the
madam,
amount.
you know that this is a court. If you have a witness...
Here.
Shh, listen to me. If you have a witness, you bring in a witness. Did you ever take a dividend check that belongs to her?
No, ma'am.
Hmm?
How could the lady know the amount of it?
Maybe she took it.
That old
Listen.
lady didn't take it.
You did the wrong thing. You knew what your mother had intended in her will.
Yes,
and whether
I
you
did.
spoke to your sister or not, whether you were estranged your sisters or not, whether you liked your mother or not, when someone dies, especially a parent, what's supposed to happen is they are entitled to dispose of their property any way they want to dispose of it. And your mother took great care in her will to leave certain things to you. Why she outlined them specifically, that these were the things that you were getting and everything else went to your sister, I don't know. Maybe your mother was smarter than...
She wasn't even on the list of people to be notified if she died. That's why she didn't know till Sunday. I sent the sheriffs over to tell her. She didn't want to know she was dead until she was gone and buried a week, because she knew she'd have her bones picked clean before they even got cold, what she told me.
Is that what she told you? You know,
Yes, ma'am.
you talk to a lot of people.
That's what she told me.
You talk to a lot of people.
I talked to my mother.
How often did you go and visit your mother in the last month that she was alive?
Well,
Just not a well. Well is not an answer.
My daughter was in a very serious car accident.
Listen to me, Miss Nutter.
I didn't
Tell
go
me your
at
whole
all.
story.
I didn't even know where she was or where she moved to.
So the answer is I didn't go and see her at all.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,296.63. This case is over.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back to your right.
She's a brute, she's malicious, and she's mean. Ever since I was born, she beat me up. She beat me up all my life. All my life. She was intimidating. She's a brute. She's not nice. She's very special.
Well, Mom liked me best.
Tell
and
me.
I gotta go.
That's true. That's true.
And now the next case.
Parties on McIsaac versus Coletti. Step forward, please.
22-year-old Keith McIsaac claims neighbor Dennis Coletti, 29, ran his truck over his lawn and destroyed his cesspool. Dennis is countersuing Keith for a cracked windshield.
Wait till you hear this one.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Neighbors.
Somewhat.
What does that mean?
We're a few houses apart.
I didn't say next door neighbors. I said your neighbors.
Okay.
And you got a new truck.
Yes.
And you were a friend of his?
Yes.
So you wanted to show him your new truck, right?
Well, yeah, I wanted to show him an accessory I added to the truck.
So why don't you tell me what you did?
I called him up. I asked him to come down to my house. He said he was very busy. He had a lot of things going on, and that he wouldn't be able to make it down to my house right away. I said, well, I'll come over and show you. So I drove up to his stoop, across his grass, and parked next to his stoop and got out and showed him my truck.
Across my grass.
Across your lawn.
Right.
Well, he's done it to me in the past.
Just a sec. I don't care whether he's done it to you or not. That's not the subject of this lawsuit, sir. The subject of this lawsuit is 5 minutes after you drove your truck off his property, what happened?
My cesspool caved in. It was a little more than 5 minutes, but it caved in within a half an hour. The whole thing caved in.
Well, cesspool's 50 years old anyway.
Shh. Hey, don't talk to him. Talk to me. Can I please see the pictures of the damage to the driveway, to the lawn? You have estimates?
Yes.
Let me see them.
I have the paid cesspool bill, which when I gave to him, he crumpled up, ripped up, and threw at me. And I have estimates, which the work isn't done on yet.
What are you showing me here?
I'm showing you the collapsed wall, the collapsed rail tie wall that fell in.
When did you take these pictures?
When it happened.
When it happened?
Yes.
And what was the total estimate to fix this cesspool?
Total estimate for the cesspool, I believe, was $1,200.
And what are all these plantings here? You got 5 azaleas, boxwood trees.
Those are the trees that I lost in the cave-in.
You didn't lose any trees in the cave-in. You didn't even take care of your stuff in the beginning.
First of all, I lost all those trees. Those are the estimates I got on the trees that I lost. The
Show me.
shrubs.
You never
Show
watered
me.
your shrubs.
Hey,
They're all dead.
Do I look like I need help from you?
No.
I mean, you were foolish enough to begin with, right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're 28 years old. You're supposed to be a responsible human being. You have a wife. You have a child. You don't take a truck and drive it on somebody else's lawn. That's stupid.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Keith McIsaac says his neighbor, Dennis Coletti, ran his truck over his lawn, destroying his cesspool. Dennis says Keith cracked his windshield.
How old are you?
28.
Is this your house that you live in?
Yeah.
It's your house. You own this house?
Yes.
Who else lives there in the house with you?
My wife and child.
Did you fix the cesspool, I hope?
I fixed the cesspool. It took me 3 days to get the money up. I had to pay cash for it. And when I asked him for the money, he told me I could, why don't you just use an outhouse?
Oh. This bill that you got for concrete and all that other kind of stuff, $1,625?
Right.
What was that for?
That was for the driveway. It caved in.
The driveway caved in around the cesspool?
Part of the driveway caved in with the cesspool, when the cesspool caved in.
Just a piece of it?
A piece of it.
But you had to replace the...
Well, I had, you know, if it was going to be replaced at one part, why should I have to suffer and look at that when he drove on my lawn?
So you had the whole thing done?
I didn't have it done yet. That's just an estimate. I have to, I'm trying to get the money, you know.
All right. Sir.
Yes.
Your answer says that you did him a favor because the cesspool was 45 years old and would have caved in anyway sooner or later. That was your answer,
Well,
right?
every other cesspool in the neighborhood has caved in at one time or another, except for maybe one or two.
But you pushed his you pushed his a little bit quicker.
Well, my truck didn't fall in with it after I left his property. His cesspool happened to cave in as a coincidence.
That helped it out.
It's a terrible coincidence, but it did happen that way.
Now that I have a figure on here on the cesspool and the damage on the cesspool from these bills, let's talk about your counterclaim. Wait till you hear this counterclaim.
Would you like to see the pictures of him driving on my grass?
I don't care about him driving on your grass, sir. I don't care about him driving on your grass.
Well, it's just the manner in which we visit each other, and
That's
you
not
know,
on the,
maybe
it's not
maybe
on
it
the
is
grass.
childish.
The pictures that he have does not show the car on the grass.
Maybe it's childish behavior,
I'm
but
going to give you 3. I'm going to count to 3. And then if you both don't shut up, I'm going to throw you both out. I won't hear your case. Do you understand? All right. So you're counterclaiming for $300. You want to tell me what kind of damage he did and when this was?
Well, the dollar amount that the estimate was changed to $119.08, based on an estimate I got. I was under bad information when I gave that $300 claim.
$119.08 for what?
A windshield, my wife's car.
All right. Now tell me about the windshield.
We went away on vacation, my wife and I and my child, and we were good friends, and Keith used to house it, and I have dogs, and he would at times, when I left the house for extended periods of time, take care of the animals in the house and watch over the house and feed my dogs and whatnot. And we came back from our vacation to find our dogs were never fed, and my wife's windshield was broken on a car. That was the only damage that I could put a dollar amount on. Outside of everything else he did in disaster.
119.08 is for the windshield.
Yes.
What happened to the windshield on the car?
I have no idea what he's talking about with the windshield on the car.
When did this happen, sir?
When we came back from vacation.
When?
Oh.
Month, year?
June of '96.
June of '96?
Yeah.
What a life.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
All right. June of '96. I mean, you're going to go back in history? We're going to go back to the year of the flood? If he didn't fix the windshield on your car, when was the first time you told him you wanted him to fix the windshield on your car?
When we came back from after I realized it was broken. And he said he didn't break it.
So, did you sue him?
No.
So you waited until this?
Yes.
Good. Goodbye on the counterclaim. You owe him $2,825 so he can fix his driveway and he can fix his cesspool. You're 28 years old. You're supposed to be a responsible human being. You have a wife. You have a child. You don't take a truck and drive it on somebody else's lawn. That's stupid. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Here you go, man.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
This is the type of individual we're dealing with a potato chip clip up his nose. We have that type of relationship. The kid's a clown. Grizzly Adams over here could use a cesspool. Him and his beard.
Smells terrible.
Well, look at him. You
up.
can imagine what the smell
I
was
called
like.
him up, and he didn't want to hear nothing. He said I did you a favor. If he thought it was such a favor, he should have paid for it.
The favor was you didn't fall in it.
"17-year-old Kelly Atkinson says she started dating Daniel Cope when she was only 15. Now broken up, she's suing him for money he took when they were lovers.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. Judges number 278 on the calendar in the matter of Atkinson versus Cope. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
How old are you?
25.
Did you know how old she was when you started to date her?
Yes.
How old was she?
15.
And you were 23?
Yes, ma'am.
That's very dumb.
It's a lesson well learned.
Because in addition to everything else, it's a felony. Right?
Yes.
Now, Miss Atkinson, this is your mother? Mm-hmm. You're 17 now.
Yes, I am.
So this suit was really filed by you on behalf of your daughter. You say that you loaned him money.
Loaned him $2,000.
For what?
Repairs on his pickup truck. Bills that I paid for him.
Like what?
Gas and power. Very, very, very often, he would take me to the bank to get $20 out so he could get back and forth to work for a night. I have a copy of all my bank receipts for the time that we were dating.
Where did you meet him?
He is an old friend of mine's boyfriend's brother.
Yeah.
And we were just introduced one day, and we were friends for about 5 months, and then it went from there.
Did your mother know that you were dating him?
Yes, she did.
Did you think it was a good idea?
He wasn't like a normal 23-year-old. He was more like a 19-year-old. Seemed, and they were friends first.
That's not unusual. So he's 23 going on 19. And your daughter was 15 going on 16.
Yeah.
So you didn't think it was so terrible.
Yeah.
Did you know that they were intimate?
Not for a long time, no.
So you took some money from her?
The loan was offered to me. What I did borrow from her, yes. Didn't take.
Well, tell me.
It was offered.
Right. And you took it.
It was offered
It
as
was
a loan.
offered several times, and I did take it. Yes, I borrowed, yes.
Why?
Not $2,000.
How much?
$800.
Well, $800 in one lump sum.
Yes, ma'am.
We're talking about little bits at a time.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
All the withdrawals listed on there, there's only, I think, one deposit that I made for my birthday on April 8th. All the rest of the withdrawals were not from me personally using the money, but from him using the money.
You mean using it to go out on a date, maybe?
No, to take it and pay his bills, or to, for instance, I bought him a differential. He needed a differential. I loaned him the $150 as a deposit down on the differential for...
Does that sound familiar?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I've been self-sufficient since I was 18 years old. I paid all my bills. No. And no, she did not pay no gas, power, or electric bill. She loaned me, which was offered, $800, which I paid back. Now, I don't know where she comes up with this, no.
How much did you have in this account when you started dating?
To start out with, $2,200.
And prior to dating him, had you taken any money out of that account?
No, that account was saved up. I've been saving that money since I was 6 years old to go and buy a car when I was 16 or to go to college.
So what you're telling me is there were no withdrawals made from that account?
None. Zero.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Step up here, please, with your daughter. When did you find out that she was helping him out with money?
The first time I found out about it was his ex-girlfriend left a message on our answering machine telling Kelly that she would never get her $2,000 back, and a few other things she left on. And that was the first time I realized, uh-oh, she's really done it. She's given him some money. And I was afraid she wasn't going to get it back.
And when Mom confronted me, I did lie to her because I was trying to protect him.
When did you break up with him?
When? At the end of August.
Why?
He put his boot through the window of my parents' truck, kicked me in the face with it.
Why?
Lots of fights. We were in the middle of another fight, and it ended up in a domestic dispute.
Did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
In addition to the $2,000 that you say you took out of your account and gave to him, you're suing for $5,000 and the other for medical bills. For what?
During the time that we were together, I contracted a venereal disease, a virus called HPV. There's a letter from my doctor and bills, my medical bills for the last year.
Did you have sexual relations with anyone other than him during this period of time?
No.
What are you laughing about? Why is that a funny question?
No? Just like that? No? No.
Well, if you have some information that she had sexual relations with somebody else, I'll hear you, sir.
She had a sexual relationship with a very close friend of mine.
When?
When? During the time that we were dating. Okay? The money that she loaned me, the $800, okay, yes, I did pay back. This was a doorway to open the account, and once the money had started being removed, the $800 that was loaned to me, then she went ahead and removed more money. Okay, whenever I caught up to this, and I confronted her about this, you know, spending money to go here, go there, I said, Kelly, you can't do that. That's not right.
Show me proof that you paid back the $800.
Show me proof that I borrowed $2,000.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When you fool around with jailbait, you sort of accept the consequences of that, sir.
And later today...
You're not a man. You're a little weasel.
Because
your whole family.
Just go. Put him away for 20 years. So.
You know what? You're all going to jail.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Atkinson is suing her former boyfriend, Daniel Cope, for money he took when they were dating. She also claims Daniel gave her a sexually transmitted disease and wants him to pay for her medical bills.
Now, you answered one question that I posed to you, sir, with a different answer. I asked you how you knew that she was having sexual relations with somebody else at the same time she was having sexual relations with you. And you are telling me about $800.
How do I know?
Yes.
Because I drove over to my buddy's house. That's where she'd spent the night instead of over at my house like she told her mother.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I caught them.
You caught them what?
I caught them in the house. Half dressed.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, it does not.
Well, would you tell me what he's talking about if you know?
I have no idea.
Well, tell me about it, sir.
What do you want to know about it?
She was supposed to be spending the night with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And?
And?
She wasn't there?
She was not there.
So you went looking for her?
I went looking for her, yes.
Well, I'm making this very easy for you.
Well, thank you.
Good. How much are your medical bills?
So far out of pocket is $895. And I'm going to need many more.
Well, you know, you're partially responsible, madam. So's your mother. In my judgment. You said it. He was 23, going on 19. Probably more like 15. So, he's no genius. Your daughter is 15, going on 16, and clearly she's no genius. You're supposed to be smart enough to put your foot down and say, I don't want you to see this guy because he's too old for you, and I don't think it's appropriate at your age. At age 15, to be dating somebody who's 23 is not appropriate. Maybe when you're 30 and he's 38, it's a different story. But right now, it's not appropriate. That's your job as a mother.
Okay, now whenever Mom did find out about his age and how much we were hanging out together, I was lying to her, again, to try to protect him.
Your mother still says she knew very well that you were dating him and that she gave her tacit approval because she felt that he was immature enough to be almost a contemporary of yours.
And I trusted
Which is
them.
a kind way of saying it.
Very kind.
Very kind. So you bear part of this responsibility. You know. Have you had yourself tested, sir?
I had myself tested, yes.
Good. Do you have the results of the test?
I have what they mail me is a card that says you're okay, fine, that you don't need to call us, you don't need to contact us, that you don't need to come in.
Let me see.
Okay, this does not say nothing, but it's a mailer, all right?
Well, it doesn't say anything. What are you giving it to me for?
That's the only thing that I do have. Okay, if otherwise I'd have been notified, say, you know, I'd have gotten a phone call saying, come in, we need to discuss this.
What made you go here for blood tests, sir?
Because I started a new relationship and I wanted to get tested. I wanted to make sure that, you know, before I have an intimate relationship with anybody, that I do not have a problem.
Well, this is interesting because this was just done in October.
Yes, ma'am,
You
I
stopped
have a new
seeing-
relationship.
I heard that already. You sound like a broken record. But you stopped seeing her in August, right?
A year ago.
A year ago.
Right.
Right, so this doesn't tell me anything because I don't know whether you were tested a year ago and were treated during the course of that year for anything. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She'd been having sex for long before I come around.
And later today,
You're a lying scumbag. Your whole family's that way. Your dad's constantly bailed you out. Your whole family is that way.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Atkinson is suing her former boyfriend, Daniel Cope, claiming he gave her a sexually transmitted disease. Daniel says he knows nothing about it.
Mr. Cope, nobody is blameless in this situation. Unfortunately, you are the legal adult and she is the legal minor. And when you fool around with what we used to call, when I was a child, jailbait, you sort of accept the consequences of that, sir. You took out this money. This was your money supposedly for a car,
For
correct?
a car or college, whichever I decided that was more
Whatever.
important at the time.
And so far you have medical bills in the amount of $895. I'm giving you a judgment in the amount of $2,895. I'm saying the following to you. You started off your life wrong. You're supposed to be smarter.
Mm-hmm.
You're 17 years old. Your mother is supposed to be smarter. Your mother is supposed to be protective. And as far as I'm concerned, this 15-year-old shouldn't have unfettered control over a substantial bank account. It's her money, but she's still a kid.
Right.
Fortunately, what was coming out wasn't money to buy drugs or other things, but it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta be very, very careful and very vigilant as a parent these days. I assume your new girlfriend is over the age of 18.
Yes.
Great. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back there to your right, please.
And I thought maybe they'd be good for each other. Maybe she'd help him grow up a little bit, and he'd help her grow up a little bit.
And now the next case.
Party's on Lewis versus Lewis. Step forward, please.
Secretary Royce Lewis is suing her 19-year-old stepson, Daniel Lewis, for money she loaned him to buy a stereo when he was 16.
Okay, so that we understand who the cast of characters are in this case. This is your stepson.
Yes.
This is your biological son.
Yes.
Are you still married to his father?
Separated.
Married but separated.
Right.
Well, a couple of years ago, while you were probably all living together, correct?
Yes.
According to this, you made a loan to these two boys.
Yes.
To go out and buy some stereo equipment. At that time, he was 16.
Yes.
And it was your agreement that when he turned 18, he would pay you back.
Yes.
Turned 18?
Yeah.
What happened?
He never paid me back. The agreement was that when he turned 18, and I didn't ask for interest or anything, and before I gave them both the money, which was cash, I said, this is with the understanding that when you each turn 18 and get your money from your trust account, that you will pay me back the money that I've loaned you. And they both said yes. I said, then go get stereos for your car.
So you got a stereo for your car,
Yes, I did.
and you got one for your car.
Correct.
When did you separate from his father?
About 2.5, maybe 3 months ago.
And it was after that that you filed this lawsuit?
Right. I told him I was going to the time we were together, and he said I couldn't because he's a pastor of a church and it's his son, and I wasn't allowed to. I said he owes me the money and he's not paying it, and you're not doing anything to get it.
Well, but the marriage was already on.
Right.
Going.
No, actually, no, it wasn't.
Well,
but
then I'm going to tell you something. If you threaten to sue your
Well, no,
husband's son, that's a good time for marriage to start to go south.
Well, I didn't threaten immediately. I said somehow something has to happen here. It's not right that he's getting away with all this.
Okay.
Okay. Our agreement, basically there was no agreement. She came up to, I did not ask for the money. I did not ask for anything from her. Me and James were both outside one day. She came right in front of our door. She walked down the stairs and was asking us if we had car stereos and how they worked and all this stuff. And she says, well, do you guys want to go down and get new CD players? And of course, I'm 16 years old. You know, I would love to have a new CD player for my car. So she gave us a blank check, said she told us how much we could spend. Me and James went down, got the same exact CD player. I came home, installed it in my car. Later that night, sitting in my room, she walked through the door and then told me that when I was 18, I could pay her back because I was getting my settlement. Okay?
So what did you say to her at that point?
Actually, I never said anything. I never actually said, okay, yes, I will do this, yes, I won't. But the thing is also, even if I had agreed to that, I moved up to Sacramento shortly before I turned 18. When I turned 18, I never heard nothing. To this very day, she has never verbally asked me for that money.
That is a total lie. His dad has talked to him.
Not since. Not
talking about his
since.
dad. He said to you.
My dad left her 2 months ago, and that is when this is happening. And she's suing 4 of my dad's friends.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have fun in jail because that's where you're going.
Miss Lewis, a minor cannot make a contract. When he was 16 years old, he could not have entered into a contract, either oral or written, with you for anything. And there are times when, if you enter into an agreement when you're a minor, and if you ratify it later when you turn 18 or 21, depending upon the jurisdiction, then it can become enforceable. But he did not do that. He did not ratify it when he became 18. You cannot make a contract with a minor who is 16 and expect it to be enforced in a court. This lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. That's back.
You got my case next, buddy.
Yeah, I've already reported you to Wells Fargo.
I really
for
don't
the
care.
check you forged.
I really don't care.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You wouldn't have even had that money if it wasn't for me.
I got
said
it
you will
because
pay.
your son can't drive and got in a car accident.
Shut up, you.
Why can't you be a man and pay the money
you
back?
lied to your dad.
Because you can't hold a job.
Yes, you lied to your dad. You said you didn't get the money out of the trust account. I called the bank. You got it.
Yeah,
Then
I
you
did
lied
get it.
and said-
The only thing
then
was I
you
got
lied-
it 3 months after I turned 18 because I couldn't. But what
Because
does that
you were
matter?
too stupid to figure out how
What
to
does
get
that
it on your
matter?
own. I know you can't do contracts with minors. I'm not stupid.
69-year-old retired school principal Carl Martin got in a fight with his neighbor, Michael Jones, 35, and is suing him for a broken window, pain, and suffering.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 407 on the calendar in the matter of Martin versus Jones. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Martin, Mr. Jones, according to your papers, lives in your neighborhood.
Yes,
And he assaulted you in April of 1997.
correct.
Tell me what happened, sir.
Do you want me to start with the event that precipitated the attack?
I think that's probably a good
One
place to
evening,
start.
I was watching television. I heard noises, and then I heard horn honks, and I started looking out my window. It's very dark. The street dead ends into the ocean, into the boardwalk. And I'd hear a horn honk, and I'd look down, and for a period of about 30 minutes, I would see a lighted match, and this gentleman had bent over the steering wheel, and I didn't know whether somebody was trying to hotwire an automobile, the intermittent honks. Does he have an accomplice? Is there something going on with a robbery? I didn't know. Finally, I decided that I'd better call the police. I didn't call 911. I called the police number and asked for an investigation. The police came out. He was crunched into the shrubbery and parked illegally up over the curb, and they gave him a drunk test, arrested him, and took him away in handcuffs.
Did you see the face of the person at the time you called the police?
No, I didn't have any idea. It was too dark. I had no idea. It was a new truck. I've lived in that neighborhood 39 years. I'd never seen the truck before. I couldn't tell who was in the car.
Now, Mr. Jones, were you arrested on that evening?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
And was the arrest for being intoxicated and in a truck?
Driving under the influence, though the truck was parked in a driveway.
So far his story is correct. Is that right?
Pretty much so.
And did you find out who it was that had called the police?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so what happened next, sir?
About, it was on the night of April 18, sometime in the middle of the evening, this fellow came to my door and started cursing me and threatened to kill me. I slammed the door in his face and went into my home and called the police and told them what had happened. That I was a witness, which I was a reluctant witness to let the police use my name in the first place. Now I have this fellow on my back and I need some help.
Okay.
They said to call him if there was any trouble there nearby. They came and asked if I knew where he lived, and I knew he lived in the alley in an apartment nearby. So the police officers went back to locate him. They couldn't locate him according to the police report, and I have the copy of the police report here. His truck was illegally parked. A sergeant came and they opted to tow the truck away.
When he appeared on the scene, he started using vulgar language, calling the police officers 4-letter words beginning with an F at least 10 times, according to the report. And they left. I walked down.
They left with his truck?
No, yes, they towed the truck. So I went back up and started watching television and kind of fell asleep. There was a banging on my door. I answered the door. He grabbed me, punched me, and knocked me through a plate glass window. And we had a fight in the street that lasted 5 or 10 minutes. My neighbors called the police. They arrived, and by this time I had him down, pounding him pretty good on the ground, and they restrained me, picked him up, put him in handcuffs, and took him to jail.
So what kind of injuries did you sustain as a result of this, sir?
Well, I have, if I may, these are the photos the police took.
And I'd like to see the police report as well.
Here's the police, and I've highlighted some of the statements. In addition, I had Charlie Horse, a sprained knee.
How old are you, sir?
I'll be 70 in September.
All right, Mr. Jones, let's cut to the chase. The first time you were arrested, you found out who it was. You were pretty angry. I assume you were pretty angry. And the second time your car was towed, you went to his house. Is that right?
I went to his house the week following the DUI. And yes, I was upset because I was not driving. But that's
not his
beside
fault.
the point.
That's not his fault. So what did you go to his house for?
Because he had called the police, and he gave them reports that are not accurate, not true.
Like what, Mr. Jones?
The crashing, the banging, the horn honking. Just not true.
Oh, how would you know that if you had been drinking?
I was not oblivious, Your Honor.
Good. You were angry, Mr. Jones, at the wrong person. The person you should have been angry at is yourself. You live in a different building, correct?
Correct.
But you went to his house.
Yes, I did.
Why did you go to his house?
I had never seen the man. I had never confronted him with his comments that he makes to me and other neighbors.
Don't tell me about other neighbors.
Okay. He is correct. He slammed the door in my face, and I went home. I'm in bed, and I hear a commotion out in back, and yes, my truck is being towed. And there's no doubt in my mind that he called the police.
Okay.
You know?
So you came out of the house?
When I went to his house, he slams the door. To me, that was the end of story. I go home, go to bed. And yes, now I'm upset.
Well,
and
you went to his house. You just didn't go into his house. You
No,
knocked
I
at the
knocked-
door of his house, and you
knocked
must have
on the
said
door.
something to him. What did you say to him?
That I wanted to talk to him as to why he was doing these things.
In a nice, quiet tone of
I
voice.
probably wasn't quiet, but I was
Probably
not belligerent.
So he slammed the door.
Yes, he did.
And so you went home and went to sleep.
I was in bed, yes.
And your truck was again parked illegally.
Questionable.
According to the police, it was
According to the
parked
police.
illegally. So they came out and they were towing your truck, which woke you up.
Yes.
And what did you do?
I watched it being towed away, and I went over to Mr. Martin's house again. Knocked
This
on.
time you must have been really angry because you went over the first time a little bit angry. The second time you were smoking.
I was angry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You pled no contest, sir, which means you were found guilty. So if you don't remember that, sir, I suggest you better stop drinking because your brain is getting fried.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 69-year-old Carl Martin claims 35-year-old Michael Jones knocked him through a plate glass window after Carl had him arrested. He's suing for damage and medical bills.
So what did you do when you went over to him, Mr. Jones?
When I was knocking on his door,
At what time
it's
was
like
this?
the man had baited
As-
me because he did not come out of the house. He came down the sidewalk bellowing, "You son of a bitch."
Why do
Now, I don't know the man. I have no idea of his age. I know that I was being threatened by this person coming down the sidewalk at me.
What were you doing at his house, sir?
Do I not have some type of a justification to find out why this person is doing these things to me?
Uh-huh. Now, you were arrested, Mr. Jones, is that right?
Yes, I was.
Bail posted?
Acquitted.
Bail posted.
Yes.
Did you go to trial?
Yes.
Was there a trial?
Yes, there was.
And you were found not guilty?
Correct.
Is that right, Mr. Martin?
I'm not aware of that. I have a statement here that he was ordered to pay restitution for damages, but...
Let me see. Just a second. When you say you're not aware of that, Mr. Martin, that's very interesting to me, sir.
Well, I wasn't aware of the decision by the police. I was angry that he was released.
What I'm asking you, Mr. Martin, is did you go and testify at a trial?
No, I did not. I was not invited.
You did not go to
not.
testify at
I
a
did
trial.
not.
Well, you can't have a trial, Mr. Jones, unless the complainant is there to testify. So how did you have a trial without him?
To my knowledge, I don't know his exact words, but what he told the judge was because of the history, prior history.
If you don't know what the exact words were, sir, then you don't know. Say, listen,
in
sometimes
effect, he
that's
called
hard
us-
for people to say, I don't know.
In effect, he called us mutual combatants.
Okay. Now, you said there was a trial and you were
Arraignment.
acquitted.
Arraignment.
You said there was a trial and you were acquitted, so that was a falsehood. There was no trial because at a trial you have a complaining witness. And since there was no complaining witness, you didn't have a trial. So you had something else.
Well, I'm not sure what it is, Your Honor. You have to forgive me.
You
I'm
are
not,
an intelligent man, Mr. Jones, I think.
familiar with the judicial.
My 9-year-old grandson knows the difference between a trial and not a trial. Mr. Jones.
Yes.
This is addressed to the plaintiff. And it says you, Michael Charles Jones. That's you, right?
Correct.
It says the above-named person has been ordered to pay restitution to you for the damages incurred to your property in the crime of which he or she has been convicted. A hearing in this regard has been set in the Long Beach Municipal Court on September 19th, 1997, in Department J. Now, I assume, sir, that you appeared in that proceeding on September 19th, 1997.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And what happened?
It was dismissed because there was no conviction of the crime.
Could I see the paper that you have?
This is just a letter stating that I don't have the disposition of the court cases. But the judge at that hearing determined there was no grounds for restitution if I was not convicted of anything.
Mr. Jones, are you serious with me, sir?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Are you really serious with me?
I'm very serious.
Uh-huh. Let me explain something to you. The prosecuting attorney indicates that you, A, pled guilty to driving under the influence of alcohol.
Correct.
And that you were to appear in court on September 19th for a damages hearing.
And I was there, Your Honor.
And
Mr. Martin was not there.
he doesn't have to be there.
I don't know.
He doesn't have to be there.
Okay.
And the case was not dismissed. Mr. Jones, case could not have been dismissed.
Your Honor, it was dismissed.
Well, let's go find out. You want me to go find... You had a lawyer in that case?
Yes, I did.
What's your lawyer's name? Let me
It's on that paper.
Joette something or other?
Courier, yes.
Let's go see. Now, I do have your permission to speak to this lawyer, don't I, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think people like this should be handled in a way to see that they don't repeat this sort of an attack on a
You are
citizen.
one malevolent, mean-spirited, delusional character. You know that?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Retired school principal Carl Martin fought with his neighbor, Michael Jones. Carl wants his medical bills plus pain and suffering.
Yes, Miss Correa, this is Judge Scheindlin. I'm calling with regard to a client of yours, Michael Charles Jones, who is currently a litigant before me in a civil action stemming from a representation that you gave him some 8 or 9 months ago. Are you familiar with him? He is appearing before my court today in the civil action brought by Mr. Martin. I have his permission to speak with you. If you want me to verify that, I will. Now, he has given me permission because there is an issue involving the disposition of the assault case with regard to Mr. Martin, and I have letters from the prosecuting attorney, and I opted to call you prior to calling him because I figured you would have this easily at your disposal. I have a letter here dated the 23rd of May from the prosecuting attorney, C. Raymond George, which indicates that Mr. Jones had been convicted, I assume on a plea or a no contest. Now, that's the issue. Can you resolve that for me? Was there a plea? Was there a negotiated disposition? And what was it? Sure. Absolutely. Good. You're much more organized than most lawyers, if you can find the file so fast. How long will it take you to look it up? And all I really need is just the disposition on this particular assault case where the plaintiff was Carl Martin. Okay, will do. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Order. Step back up, please.
Mr. Jones, your file is so thick, your lawyer needs 15 minutes to find the right case. And then I'm going to call her back so that she can give me the disposition on this particular case, which you say you were found not guilty on.
The files were so convoluted between the two charges of the DUI and the assault. They mixed them all together, and yes, it's very difficult to sort anything out.
These two files between the DUI and the assault case
They
were not
all
the...
came under the same case number.
They're not the only files she has to look through of yours, sir. Right?
That is true, Your Honor.
Right. You've got a big file, Mr. Jones.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Yes, Miss Corriere, please. Hi. Well, did you find it? Did he pay the fine? You don't know. Okay, so the... Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for your help. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Order. Resume your places, please.
Now, Mr. Jones, your lawyer is lovely. You pled no contest, sir, which means you were found guilty because the judge explained to you at that time that a plea of no contest was exactly the same as a plea of guilty. There would be a conviction. Your sentence was suspended on condition that you pay $300 in fines on this case. So if you don't remember that, sir, I suggest you better stop drinking because your brain is getting fried. Plea of no contest is just like you pled guilty or went to trial and were found guilty. That's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That means, sir, that in this civil proceeding, where the quantum of proof is a lot less than beyond a reasonable doubt, you owe him the money. The only issue is, how much do you owe him? Let me see those pictures again.
You want to see my bills also?
I'm not interested in your bills.
This
You wouldn't
was
have
not a
any bills.
one-sided
You wouldn't have
event.
any bills, sir. You wouldn't have any bills. Put your hand down. You're winning. Be quiet. You wouldn't have any bills if you stayed in your bed. That's why you pled guilty. So I'm
not
looking
going
at
to argue
these.
that point, Your Honor. That is totally incorrect.
Listen to me, sir. Then I suggest you go back to your lawyer and tell your lawyer that you made a big mistake by pleading no contest. Because right now, that's what you have. You have a plea, you have a sentence that was suspended, And you have a fine that you were supposed to have paid, which I assume you paid, of $300. That's to the court. The issue of damages to the plaintiff was never addressed. So I'm looking at this gentleman's face. And this face is worth, sir, exactly what you're suing for, which is $5,000. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah. Didn't need it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Back door to your right.
And on the next Judge Judy.
Somebody needs to confront people like this to let them know that they can't get away with their maliciousness, their pettiness. And like I say, I'm not the only one. Sometimes you have to take a stand.
I think people like this should be handled in a way to see that they don't repeat this sort of an attack on a
You are
citizen.
one malevolent, mean-spirited, delusional character. You know that?
Happy to
Why
be able
don't
to
you go
report the
seclude
facts.
yourself in your house again with your $5 and enjoy it, and you can drink yourself to death. I ended up through
and the
that window
police-
also and severed nerves and
And the
tendons in my
police,
hand.
thank God. And
Yeah,
the
you
police
like that,
statement,
don't you?
damn right. When I'm a tack fellow, you're going to get what you got.
See, now we start to see the
Yeah.
man's true nature. The man's a sociopath.
He ought to grow up and get some conscience and maybe be able to deal with the truth.
43-year-old Dorothy Walters says photographer Ron Rice ruined her 25th wedding anniversary because he was unprofessional, danced with the guests, and took bad pictures.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 355 on the calendar. In the matter of Walters versus Rice. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You're the photographer.
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Mrs. Walters, you hired the defendant because you and your husband were celebrating your 25th wedding anniversary.
Yes, that's right.
It's lovely.
Thank you.
What kind of party were you having?
We rented the Marina Hornblower yacht, and we were having a celebration cruise for our family and our friends.
How many people?
60.
How did you find him?
Through an ad in the newspaper in the Daily Breeze, right here, under wedding photography.
Okay, can I see it?
Run.
So you hired him. Tell me about the agreement that you made with him.
I searched for a photographer, and then I saw that ad, and I said, well, let me go check this guy's work out, because I wanted special double effects and photography. And when I went to his home to look at his work, it was exceptional. I mean, it was knocked down. It was just so great work.
Above
This work was really good. And so without a doubt, I wrote him a check, and I hired him.
Was it a deposit, or was it?
I gave him a $200 deposit, and 2 weeks later, I paid him the rest in full in advance, before the wedding.
What was the whole price? For the
$752.33, my contract.
And that was to include what?
That was to include him to come to my home, 2.5 hours, and that was to include a bridal album with 8x. The pictures that he showed me of our 25th wedding anniversary were horrible. I cried. I was devastated. I mean, these pictures were horrible. The pictures that he showed me of our 25th wedding anniversary were horrible. I cried. I was devastated. I mean, these pictures were horrible. My friends took pictures with their regular cameras. Look at my pictures that they took with their regular cameras compared to the professional pictures that he took. I mean, it was horrible.
I will look at both.
Yeah.
Why do you think that happened?
I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea.
Well, you indicate in your complaint that his behavior at this function was...
My sister all day...
I did.
and said all kinds of... I have it on video. I have the video right here. You can see it. I have him dancing, doing the Macarena, eating with my guests, not taking pictures. He poured a beer over the top of her head, made her dress see-through. I have it on video.
I would really like to see that.
I wish I was there, too.
May I show you who he is on the video?
Yeah, just let...
I wear many hats, Your Honor. Photographer, comedian, dancer, pouring beer.
I hired you to be a photographer, not to be...
Listen to me. Don't answer him. I don't...
Here he is, Your
You're
Honor.
right, Your Honor. I won't.
Here he is, doing the Macarena, right there. And I have no... See, no... There he is, doing the Macarena there in your courtroom. Okay.
It moves me.
There
I
he
like
is.
the song. Needs a little work. I want to see the beer.
Other than this Macarena, is there anything else on this tape?
It just shows Leona having the beer on her head. It didn't show him actually doing it, but you could hear him.
Well, let me see. How much into the tape is that?
It's a little bit farther.
Would you speed it up, please, Bird? Mr. Rice.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why did you pour a beer over this lady?
Well, I haven't seen that part yet, Your Honor. I don't believe I did.
Yes, you did. I mean, you're
Miss Walters.
Sure.
Don't talk to him. I'm talking to him now.
Absolutely sure.
She's going to tell me, this lady, if I ask her to stand up, which I will.
Yeah.
Stand up now.
Stand up.
You're her sister?
Yes.
Did he pour a beer on you at this function?
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
I was dancing, and he says, "You need to be cooled off." And he threw the beer on top of my head. And I had a satin dress on, and it clinged to me, and it was see-through, and I was really, really embarrassed.
Okay, sit down. Mr. Rice.
It sounds like a fun thing to do under the circumstances, but I was hired in a professional position and a capacity, and that's exactly what I did. I have on the...
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
I've made 4 or 5 weddings in my time. Hired a lot of photographers for other kinds of functions.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a photographer dancing with my guests. I never had a photographer coming and eating with my guests. I never had a photographer pouring anything over one of my guests. Otherwise, that photographer would have been brought out of the function in a box.
Yes, I agree.
Now, you did that. You were dancing with the guests, no jacket on, and, sir, I didn't see you with a camera slung around your shoulder.
This was after, this was
Yes.
after all the ceremonial events were done, because the wedding was during the day.
I heard you for the whole time.
Do I look like I need help?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And so I was finished.
Just a second. What do you mean you were finished?
I was finished with all the ceremonial events. They were partying, and they were partiers.
How many rolls of film did you take, sir?
Approximately 250.
How many rolls?
No way.
Four, 220, medium format.
How many rolls of film?
2 rolls of 12 exposure, which was 24 prints, and then 4 at 24.
So altogether, you had how many pictures?
4 times 24 times 20. Me and my math. Probably 150, approximately.
96 and 24 is 120. Okay. So you had 120 pictures. Let me see them.
The irony of this thing.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
That's 99% of the profession, is being able to mesh and flow and get into the party mood.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dorothy Walters is suing photographer Ron Rice for taking bad pictures and being unprofessional at her 25th wedding anniversary. He says the pictures are good and that he was just enjoying himself.
120 pictures. Let me see them.
The irony of this thing is I saw her. She didn't want. I was supposed to give her the 5x5 proofs.
Just a second.
She didn't even want them.
Listen to me.
I mean,
Mr. Rice,
to me.
Miss Walters.
Okay, he wouldn't.
Miss Walters. Where are the 120
in
prints?
the trash.
Okay, who put them in the trash?
2 weeks ago, before she served me the notice, I said, "Look, here's Barbara's."
I'm Dorothy.
Dorothy.
Just a second.
Whomever. Dorothy. I'm sorry.
So the answer is you don't have them. You threw them away.
I have the negatives.
Just a second.
I was going to.
You have the negatives of 120 pictures? Let me have them.
All right. All right. Yes, sir. Shall I?
Oh, don't come too close to me, Mr. Rice.
And here's Your Honor, would you want to show me?
Just a minute. What's the difference between these and these, sir?
Print quality and definition. One's 2 1/4 format. Those are 35 millimeter format. The other one is 6 by 6 millimeter. Those are table shots. See, when I do a wedding, all the ceremonial events, all the romantics, anything that has to do with, you know, the principles of the wedding party are shot in with the 2 1/4. The format.
And this is 2 1/4?
No, that's 35 millimeter. That's where table shots, guest shots.
There are no table shots here, sir.
Maybe, can I see them?
No.
Okay.
And all these negatives are the negatives, right?
Those are the negatives of, yes.
Bird, would you count up these?
Sure.
These negatives?
No problem.
Thank you. I just want to know how many there are, because she says that
Make sure there are
limited
ours,
number
too.
of rolls. Now let me take a look at the pictures.
Okay, Bert. These are the ones he took. Here's the identical pictures that the guest took.
With the polarizer.
No, this is with
who's the professional here?
Hey,
yeah, who's the professional?
I
Look
know.
at those
All
papers.
right,
Look at those
One,
pictures.
2, 3, and then you're both out of here. Do you understand? And if you're out of here, you lose. Do you understand? Now, these are the ones your guests took.
Yes.
And these are the ones that you're complaining about that he took.
Yes.
Are these the only pictures that you were given by him?
No, I was given another book.
Where
and
is it? Where are the-
You have it. You wouldn't give it to me.
Where are the 30?
What words didn't you both understand? Don't talk to each other. I don't like to have to raise my voice. I want to see the photographs that he took at your house. Do you have those?
No. He
didn't bring...
Don't speak.
Your Honor, he took them. He would not give them back to me because I said, these are unacceptable. And he took them. He wouldn't give them back to me.
Just a second. So are you telling me that these are
That's
the only
pictures I have.
Can I finish my question?
I'm sorry.
Are these the only pictures that you have of your wedding anniversary
That he
party
took. Yes.
that he took?
Yes, they are.
She just perjured herself.
You just threw
Shut
the
up!
book away. He threw the book away. That's what he told you. Okay, I'm sorry.
Show me, sir, what you say she has in addition to these.
She has 34 8x10s that she ordered from the prince.
Show me the order with her signature on it.
Right here?
Good. Can I see it, please?
She got her plan. I mean, it's a very flexible plan. She got plan 3.
Sir.
Oh, yes, Your Honor.
Stop talking. This is the contract. This is not her order.
Absolutely right.
Show.
I'm sorry.
Don't say you're sorry. Just be quiet. This is not an order. This is the contract.
Is it like a price list or anything in there like that other than just the negatives?
How many were there, Bert?
70, Judge.
Okay. Now listen to me, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Listen carefully. There are 70 negatives here. 70. Right. You wouldn't dispute that with Bird, would you?
Oh,
No.
Bert.
Now,
Not Bert.
this is...
It's probably a 36 roll, Your Honor. But,
So altogether, you took 106 pictures, not 150.
well, actually, with the 70 pictures, it was more than enough because what she had ordered was just those elect, professionally looking, beautiful few, if I may add.
Mr. Rice, I asked you a question, and you will not deflect me with your palaver. Where is her order for these 8x10s that you just told me about?
What? I mean, they're right there. They're right on those MAC cards.
Well, show me her signature on those things,
No, there's no
sir.
signature. The
Show
contract.
Officer Bird. Just give him the whole envelope, Bird. Please.
Help. Okay. There was no album. She ordered $252 worth, taxed. I mean, she ordered. Where are the 10x10s?
You have them.
Where are they? I mean, you have them.
All
Where
right,
are
now,
they?
let me tell you what happens
like,
when
where
you
are
don't listen 4 times. 4 times you don't listen.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
It's wearing hats, not just being a professional, being stuffy.
Oh, my God.
You have to have personality. You have to go in with a smile.
And later today,
If I give you $200, you have to give me the camcorder back.
No, I don't have to. It's mine. It's mine. It belongs to
You're
me.
full of it.
Real cases, real people, Judge Judy. Dorothy Walters wants the money back she paid photographer Ron Rice because she says the pictures were unprofessional.
Mr. Rice?
Yes, ma'am.
I find that based upon what I've seen in the photographs, what I've heard today, that your conduct on the day of this anniversary party was less than professional and certainly less than what Miss Walters bargained for when she retained you. So, you're going to refund to her $752.33 because of you, she doesn't have what she bargained for, which was a professional photographer who behaved in a professional manner, who furnished her professional pictures. And in addition, since you told me that the proofs that you gave her, you took and threw in the garbage, which means that you certainly didn't want them, Miss Walters, I'm giving you all the negatives.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's
thank
all.
you.
They're no good anyway.
They're no good. You said they were professional photographers.
You don't want them.
Pictures.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You said they were good.
Parties are excused. You may
Here, I'll
step
throw them in the
They're
trash
no
can.
good.
Step
Yeah,
out the
they're
back
no
door to your
good.
right.
It's wearing hats, not just being a professional, being stuffy.
Oh my gosh.
99% of the profession is being able to mesh and flow and get into the party mood. Give me a kiss. Give me a hug. Come on.
He's nuts.
I'll give him a
He's
hug.
nuts.
Whoa.
He's nuts.
Well, I mean, it's like I was
Thank you,
born that
Judge.
way. What's your excuse?
And now the next case.
Parties on Hill versus Mathis. Step forward, please.
32-year-old Robin Hill is suing her former sister-in-law, Teresa Mathis, age 36, because she won't return her video camera.
Do I understand this correctly, that you two ladies are sister-in-laws or in some way related? Still sister-in-laws?
I'm unsure of it. They got divorced. I don't know.
Okay. You divorced?
Right.
From her brother?
Yes.
So you're former sister-in-laws?
Correct.
And let me understand this. You needed $200 for some sort of move a couple of years ago.
Right.
You asked your sister-in-law, who I assume was then still married to your brother,
Correct.
for the $200. According to you, she lent you the $200, and you gave her your camcorder.
Correct.
As sort of insurance for the repayment of this loan.
Right.
Now you're suing her because you say you went back and retrieved the camcorder and it's broken.
Right.
And the camcorder, you paid how much for?
It was on sale. We paid roughly $900.
So you're suing her for $500.
Which would be about replacement cost of it.
And you say nothing could be farther from the truth.
No.
That you bought the camcorder.
I purchased the camera because she was going to Oklahoma for $200, and I told her that if she got the money back, as soon as she got it, that I would sell it back to her if she wanted. And
for the
that's
$200.
it. Right, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you get the camcorder back?
She asked me to house sit for her while they were in Oklahoma with bicycle races for their son. And a friend of mine had asked me to film some stuff.
How long ago was this?
This was November of last year.
So November of last year, when you were house sitting, you got your camcorder back.
Well, I went to borrow it to use it to film some stuff, and it didn't work. So I went to put it in a shop. They had a fit and told me, though, they wanted to get it fixed. I said, fine. So I gave it back to them to get it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was more than willing to give them their money back. And if it was my fault that it was broke, then I would have paid for it. But it was working when they got it, and I don't think I should have to pay for it to be fixed.
Did you give her back the $200?
I've offered it to her.
Just a second.
No.
Did you give her back the $200?
She refused it.
No, that's not true.
That is true.
It's not true.
That is true.
When I asked for the money, she didn't have it. She never had the money. The only reason she came to my house and took the camera while we were gone out of my closet was because she needed money and she wanted to sell it, and then had planned to pay me after she sold the camera. When I purchased the camera, it was working, just not properly. You can see by the film that I brought that it has lines in it. And that was in April of '95 at a national that we went to, my son's bike races.
Whatever, so you went and you had it fixed.
When I got the money, because I was single, my ex-husband and I were divorced. I have 3 children and a large house payment. So when I did get the money, which was in March, I said, this is terrible. You know, I have this camera, I can't even use it. It doesn't work right. So I took it down. Her aunt was with me also at the races when I purchased the camera, and it kept shutting off. She was standing beside me, and we were taping our children.
All right, if you don't have to go into a whole long thing, it's not a very difficult case.
Okay.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Ms. Hill.
Yes.
If I believe your story, she lent you $200, you gave her the camera. until you paid her back the $200.
Correct.
You never paid her back the $200. Where's the camera now?
She still has the camera.
I've never lost the camera.
Perfect.
I still have it.
Camera's yours.
Right.
When she gives you back the $200, you just listen to me.
Okay,
when she gives you back the $200, you'll give her back the camera. Right now, you didn't give her back the $200, so the camera's hers. That's very simple.
I understand that, Your Honor.
Good. That's all. Case is dismissed.
All right, sir, excuse. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I've got notarized statement saying it was working.
It worked, but it didn't work right.
That's not my fault.
Well, it's not my fault. You hauled it in your car all the way to Oklahoma since 1991, all over the place. That's what happened.
Well, that's not my fault. If I give you $200, you have to give me the camcorder back.
No, I don't have to. It's mine. It's mine. It belongs to me.
You're full of it.
31-year-old exotic dancer LaDonna Sanchez is suing her former friend and roommate, 26-year-old Sean Henry, for unpaid loans, rent, and a stolen VCR.
Order. All rise. Judge's case number 347 on the calendar in the matter of Sanchez versus Henry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Well, each of you claim that the other owes you money, just about the same amount of money, $2,600 change. Ms. Sanchez, you claim that this gentleman was living with you. He left owing you money for a variety of things, which you'll tell me about. You say you made a loan to her for lawyer, $1,500 for something. You'll tell me about that. So why don't you start from the beginning? How come the two of you were living together?
Sean said he had no place to go. And when we first moved together, he was getting kicked out of his apartment. I was leaving my apartment.
Had you been friends?
Yeah, we had been friends. We had met at work. And at the time, we were staying in a hotel, and it was like you pay every week. Then we found an apartment through one of his friends at work. He got the apartment in his name, okay? And then later I had got it put in my name. I have a rental agreement. And I was giving Sean the money because he knew the landlord. I had no idea, and I work at night. And so I would give Sean money every week to pay rent. Sean didn't pay rent. I have an agreement that we both signed saying that we're both 4 months in the hole in rent. And I'm like, you know, how in the world can this be? I give you money every week, you know?
What you're telling me is you gave him your share of the rent.
Every
How
week.
much was the rent?
$250.
$250 a month?
Each.
Yes, each. It's $500 a month.
Okay. So you gave him your $250?
Yes.
And he never paid the rent?
No. I have a piece of paper saying right here that we're both, and he signed it. We both signed it, saying that we're 4 months in the rent, 4 months behind in the rent to this day.
Didn't I pay her 70?
I don't know. Do you have a receipt?
Shh, don't talk to each other. Don't talk to each other. Okay. You both signed that you're both responsible for half the rent. Did you pay the rent, sir?
When I moved out, I paid $750.
I'm talking about while you were living there with her.
We lived together for a whole year and a half.
How long were you living in the apartment together?
About a year and a half, 2 years.
And did you pay the rent?
Yes.
All that time?
Yes.
No, he didn't. He's lying.
Ms. Sanchez?
Yes, ma'am.
You have rent receipts?
She had them all.
Did you ultimately pay all the rent?
Not yet. I am still in the hole because of Sean.
Well, how did that come about, that you're in the hole?
Okay, Sean was unemployed. First, Sean moved out, okay, because me and Sean and my boyfriend were living together, right? And everything was fine, but we still owed her $2,000.
The three of you were living in the apartment?
Yes.
And the rent was $500?
Yes.
So
but my boyfriend didn't really live there. He wasn't responsible for any of the rent. That was my responsibility. He didn't hardly have any clothes there, okay? He was just,
told me
there.
the three of you were living
in
there.
a two-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
He had his own room. I had my own room. He had his company. I had my company. So my boyfriend didn't really live there. He had all his clothes someplace else. My boyfriend did. Sean was fired from his job. Came crying to me that he didn't have any place to go. Okay, no place to go. He couldn't go live with his brother. They're having problems. He can go live with his father. They're having problems.
So what you're saying to me, madam...
So I let him move back in. I let him move back in on the agreement that he helped me with households.
In May of 1997, sir, you signed an agreement that you owed her a total of, well, this would be $1,000, right? Because it says that total owing was $2,000. And Henry and Sanchez are responsible for 50% of the total, and you signed this, correct? So you acknowledged in May that you owed her $1,000.
Yeah.
Right? Did you pay her?
I paid the landlord $750.
No. I'm not saying what you paid the landlord. I'm saying what you paid her.
Why would I owe her?
Because I gave you the money every day to pay the rent, and you didn't, stupid.
Now, you want me to dismiss your lawsuit?
No.
This is $2,000. Each of you owe half of that. So that's $1,000. Did you pay it or did you not pay it?
I paid $750. I guess I still owe the landlord $250.
When did you pay the landlord $750?
July?
When did you move out?
July?
No.
Shh. Show me the receipt.
I don't have that.
That makes this easy. So that's $1,000. What else does he owe you for?
He bought, through his work, I got a VCR because he could get it cheaper from Dow Stereo.
How much did you pay for it?
$160.
Okay.
That's all the money that I gave him for the VCR.
How much did you pay for the VCR?
Got a receipt right here.
Okay.
$213.
$213, and you gave him $160. Where's the receipt?
I didn't ask Sean for receipts.
Okay. Did she give you $160 for the VCR?
Every day I get...
You wanted a video camera.
Listen to me.
But you didn't.
You each want money from each other. It would be very foolish. So you say you bought it for $160, and you're going to show me a receipt for $213. And you claim that when he moved out, why did he move out?
Because he wouldn't do his chores, nor did he pay rent. The first month that he moved back in after he was unemployed, he went to Las Vegas, okay? That was on Memorial Day. Didn't tell me anything. And then he comes home, oh, I'm broke, I went to Las Vegas. Like, what the hell you go to Las Vegas for? Oh, so I could see if I could win some more money. And I'm like, you've got to be stupid. And every day, that month that he was there and he was unemployed, I gave him money, because every day I had to go to work.
Are you finished?
Yes.
What's the address of this apartment where you live together?
802. Apartment A. He didn't help me with the chores. He didn't help me take care of the
I don't care. I'm not your therapist, madam. This is a court.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Are you telling me that this attorney, under the penalties of perjury in the state of California, is lying?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, really? Maybe I'll call him.
And later today,
she was in high demand because she was a natural blonde and had natural big breasts.
I'm sure if I chose to pursue that career instead of a research scientist, I would be in high demand, yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dancer LaDonna Sanchez wants her former close friend Sean Henry to pay her for back rent. Sean says she kicked him out.
So what happened with the VCR that you said was yours?
He took it from me. I went to sleep. He went in my room and took it out of my room.
Okay. Now, what's your story?
I let her use it. I never said she can have it. I bought it.
Utter crap.
Shh.
I said you could use it.
Now, you also say that you made some loans to him. You want to tell me about that?
The month that he moved in, since he was unemployed, he would ask me for money every day.
I'm not talking, Miss, listen to me. I'm not talking about the $5 and the $10 that you say you gave him because he was unemployed. Did you lend him any large sums of money for which he promised to make payment?
Not all at one time. Every day, can I borrow some money? Can I borrow some money?
Did you keep a record of that?
He was my best friend.
Did you keep a record? The answer is no. So you're just guessing about how much money you lent him?
No, I'm not. I knew how much money I had saved in my drawer before he had moved in.
So how much money did you give him?
$350.
I don't believe that you can.
I did. Every day I gave him $20 or $30 every day because he needed it.
So
he needed it for gas. He was supposed to go look for a job. I bought him news.
You're not listening to me, Miss Sanchez. I said, did you write down these numbers?
I didn't think I had to.
Well, then that's a problem.
He's supposed to be my best friend. He was supposed to be my little brother.
Now, you're countersuing her for a lot of money, too. Let me hear it.
Well, one time...
Not well. Look at me.
She got arrested coming back across the border, and she needed a lawyer. So she called me crying, I need a lawyer. So I paid $1,500 for a retainer to try and help her out.
When was this?
June 26, 96.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No.
You just took out a piece of paper. What is that?
This is the piece of paper that was the only thing that I'd gotten from that lawyer. I saw that lawyer once. I knew it wouldn't do me any good. I cussed Sean out on the phone about what do I need a lawyer for? The lawyer wasn't going to do me any good.
Just a second. You went to see a lawyer?
No, I didn't. The lawyer came to jail. And I'm like...
Shh. Lawyer came to jail. Lawyers don't do anything for free.
I didn't ask him for the lawyer. I never asked him for the lawyer. And if I did ask for a lawyer, it wouldn't be from him. It would have been from Rudy, my boyfriend.
Listen to me. Where were you when you paid this lawyer? Were you in...
I was...
California?
Yeah.
Does he have a receipt?
I have a feeling you two people deserve each other because you are, Miss Sanchez, irritating me. And I'm just about ready to show you the door. Do you understand?
Yes.
With nothing. Not your $1,100, with nothing, if you do it again. You got it? I want you to show me any documentation, sir, that you have with regard to this lawyer.
Right here.
Can I see it, please? Well, this clearly is a letter from an attorney indicating that he accepted a non-refundable retainer in the amount of $1,500 from the defendant on your behalf on the 26th of June, 1996.
That's his ex-girlfriend's boyfriend's father. Why wouldn't he write him that piece of paper?
Are you telling me that this attorney, under the penalties of perjury in the state of California, is lying? Are you...
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, really? Maybe I'll call him.
No,
Maybe I'll call him. You want me to call him?
Can you look at this for me?
Sure.
For a minute?
I asked you a question. Do you think I have to call him?
No.
Right.
But he was never my attorney. I did not ask Sean to get me a lawyer.
How did you find out she had been arrested?
She called me from jail.
I believe that, Miss Sanchez.
I did not ask him.
How would he know that you're in jail unless you called him?
I did call him from jail.
And what did you call him for? To say, how are you?
No, we lived together.
This happened a long time ago, correct? Did you ever sue her for this money?
No.
Why?
So I cared about her.
Good.
Excuse me, Your Honor, may I say something?
Sure.
When the lawyer thing came about...
You're lying, Miss Sanchez. Don't lie to me. I don't like when you lie to me.
I did not. Yeah. I'm not lying.
Sure you are. Now, was there ever an agreement that you had with her that she would repay this lawyer's fee to you?
Well, we had an agreement.
Oh, Mr. Henry, you don't want to go down that road, sir. I guess you do. You want to tell me about this agreement? Tell me what words we used, Mr. Henry.
Well, she said, get me out of here. Whatever it costs.
And you said?
I'll try the best I can. I borrowed the money from my brother.
No, don't tell me how you borrowed the money. She said, get me out of here. Right?
Yes.
And you did?
Well, I tried.
Okay. No, an agreement to pay it back means get me out of here, whatever it costs, and I will pay you back. That's a contract. That's an oral contract. But you didn't have that with her?
No.
Okay. Well, that's what I thought. So, that's honest.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You never paid rent. You didn't clean up the house. You didn't clean up your stuff. I had to sit up there and pick up after you. Bought food and everything.
And later today...
She begged me for sex, Your Honor. Literally.
Mr. Swan, you're not that attractive, sir.
Thank you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Exotic dancer LaDonna Sanchez wants her former close friend Sean Henry to pay her for back rent, loans, and a stolen VCR.
I can't figure out who owns the VCR. I have a bill here for $213. So
She's also
I can't,
caused damage to my truck.
Shh. So I can't make a determination with regard to the VCR. I can only make a determination with regard to the contract that you both entered into, indicating that you are indebted to her for the amount of $1,000. Now, you want to tell me about this truck?
Yeah, she's damaged it.
Well, tell me about that.
Well, one time at work, she said she locked the keys in, so she had to break the back window, and I had to pay for that.
I paid him back.
Shh.
And when we were in a fight, I wouldn't let her drive it. She didn't have a license or insurance on it.
So what did she do to the truck?
She kicked it. Put a nice dent on the driver's side door.
Let me see.
And I got estimates of the damage right here.
Looks like there's lots of damage on this truck. Lots of scratches on this truck.
From his DUIs.
You have about your boyfriend kicking it.
Ah, wonderful. You ready? Dismissed! Dismissed! Goodbye.
Party's not excused. Step out.
I don't understand why it was dismissed. Because I talked? He was supposed to be my best friend. Okay, he dogged me just because I won't be his stupid girlfriend. Sorry. Now it's dismissed because you're stupid. Never see my fucking money again. Make me sick.
And now the next case.
Party's on Maris versus Swan. Step forward.
32-year-old research scientist Ann Maris is suing her former friend, physical education instructor William Swan, for unpaid credit card bills.
Why do women give men credit cards?
I think it has something to do with the word convinced. Mr. Swan looked me straight in the eye and told me he loved me, wanted to marry me, that I thought he had morals.
Mr. Swan, go ahead.
I thought he had morals.
How did you meet him?
I met him in the produce section of an Asian store, Asian market.
And how long did you know him before you put his name on your credit card?
5 months.
And had you dated during that 5 months?
Beginning about 2 or 3 months prior to that, we started seeing each other on a more regular basis and talking pretty much every day on the phone, at least once.
So he needed some credit, and you said you'd give him credit on your card.
He said one morning I talked to him from work, and he said he desperately needed a refrigerator, that he was getting skinny, and that his brother wouldn't loan him the money, and that it would be about $500. And I told him I didn't have the money, and I thought we could find one a lot cheaper than that, as I had paid $100 for mine, and that I would be willing to let him put it on a credit card that had no other money on it, so we could be clear. And he had told me he was going to pay it out of his tax return, and he didn't know why his brother wouldn't loan him the money.
Okay. To make a long story short, because
Sure.
Mr. Swan is going to tell me what his defense is, he ran up bills on the credit card totaling $1,500.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And he does not dispute that.
No.
Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
But this is your defense, that you had an agreement with her. And your agreement was that as long as you maintained the payments on the credit card, that she would keep it open.
Absolutely.
But that there came a point when you took out a significant amount of money. How much, $1,100?
Yeah.
And that after you took out that amount of money, she closed the credit card down.
Yes.
So your defense is that she breached the agreement
Yes.
by canceling the credit card, and therefore you do not owe her this money. That's what your defense is.
Something to that effect.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Well, why don't you tell me what I got wrong?
Well,
Why don't you?
not that I don't necessarily owe, but the fact that she breached our contract with reference to me keeping the payments paid that I shouldn't have to pay, because she cut it off basically out of spite because I wouldn't have sex with her.
That's not true, of course.
She
Yeah.
begged me for sex, Your Honor.
What is that?
Literally.
Mr.
And
Swan.
I just, you know.
Mr. Swan, you're not that attractive, sir.
Thank you.
What does this have to do about owing?
She
her
thought so.
Order.
Well, sometimes love is blind. Mr. Swan, you're not serious with me, are you? You're not trying to tell this to me with a straight face that you don't owe the money that you took out on her credit card because she breached the agreement when she cut off your credit?
I never said I didn't know it.
You sure you said, as far as I'm concerned, she broke the agreement and I have no intention of giving her a dime.
That's what I said. But
That's what you said right here in your answer.
Yeah, but I didn't say I
Good.
didn't know
You owe her $1,500 judgment for the plaintiff. That's right.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
And she was in high demand because she was a natural blonde and had natural big breasts.
I'm sure if I chose to pursue that career instead of a research scientist, I would be in high demand, yes. I hope to see him in jail.
Hope springs eternal.
Step forward, please.
Hollywood agent Clarence Cheatham is suing his client Roy Oldenkamp for a computer and Joselle Celine for slander.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 96 on the calendar in the matter of Cheatham versus Oldenkamp, Celine.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me first say that when you prepare papers for court, which are a complaint and an answer, and in your case, a countersuit, you're supposed to prepare them so that the judge, in reading over a file, can understand the nature of your lawsuit. And quite frankly, sir, I don't understand what you're suing for. Something about a computer, something about slander. I have no idea how this problem started. And quite frankly, I don't understand your countersuit either. So, go ahead, Mr. Cheatham.
Now, there are three separate cases, as you know. The first case is that I had to move out of my apartment because it had gotten flooded. And Roy was coming over and using the computer every day because we were working on a play together.
So you were writing together?
No, we were working together
What
on
does
the
that
play.
mean?
He was doing the publicity, and at the time, I had a client that was doing the play.
What do you mean you had a client that was doing the play?
I had a client who was the star of the show, of the Dorothy Dandridge show. So he was, and so he didn't have a computer, so he was coming over all the time to use a computer.
So you're in the publicity business?
I was helping him out, yes, working for him at his place of business. And
Which was his apartment?
His apartment, right.
That got flooded?
I never heard anything about it getting flooded or saw any evidence of it.
Go ahead.
So John suggested, John is my housemate, decided that we should leave the computer with Roy while we were out of the apartment and they were repairing it.
Okay.
That's the
Apartment
first
got
part
flooded.
of the case.
You had your computer. You left it with him.
Yes.
Okay. Who bought this computer?
Me.
Do you have his computer?
I have the computer he gave me as partial payment for back wages due for work I did at his address, which is also his business, which I worked at for a year and a half, helping him not just do one play, but his entire business. And I have files and evidence of the things I did, some of the things that I did while I was there.
Well, so you say he handed this computer over to you as partial payment for the work?
Yes, he said that he was in the process of brokering a deal to sell a painting by Goya, the artist, that his commission, he was selling it to a Hungarian count, and his commission would be at least $350,000.
Did you tell him that?
Your Honor, I can't talk about that case. That case is being in litigation as we speak.
Well,
yes.
you have to talk about it, sir.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you why. Because he says that you gave him this computer, but that you were working on a big deal and that hopefully you were going to get your computer back. Is that right?
No, he was going to pay me more money additionally. The computer was partial payment for monies due. And he came over to my house, set it up, and said he'd have more money for me when this went through this brokering deal, which I don't know anything about how it happened after that.
Had you owed him any money, sir?
No. Not
he was
for
doing
work.
Well, how was he being compensated for doing the publicity?
He was working for the show. He was not working for me. He was working for J.H. Doyle Production, and I have the witness to that effect.
This witness?
This witness.
Would you stand up, please?
Certainly.
Who are you?
I'm Sloan Robinson. And
what do you
I was
do?
the actress that was doing the play Yesterday Came Too Soon, the Dorothy Dandridge story. And I know that at that time, Roy came on to our production as a publicist. And I do know that they were working together on that production.
That's one thing I did.
The checks for that were supposed to come through Clarence to Roy.
I never got paid for that either.
And
just a second. One thing.
From my knowledge, Mr. Cheatham was not responsible for paying Roy's fee.
That
was
she
the
was the actress.
production
She would
company.
have no knowledge.
The
How do you
production
just
company was supposed to be paying his fee.
How do you know that?
That's
Where's the
what I
person
was
from?
told.
You can't tell me what you were told.
Okay.
Sit down.
Okay.
Just a second. Were you doing any other work for him other than on this particular Dorothy Dandridge story
Yes, ma'am.
play?
That play was only 3 months long in its entire gestation to the end of that play. I worked for Clarence for a long time, for I'd say over a year and a half, doing many other projects.
Well, why did you work for him for nothing, sir?
Well, I didn't. He paid me twice out of the amount I gave him. I have some invoices I'd given him also. And both times that he paid me, one time I came to him and told him I wanted some money. He said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll pay an electric bill for you. How's that? So he paid the electric bill, the check bounced, of course, and then he did another payment with another fraudulent check that bounced.
I knew.
Just a
he
second.
really hasn't paid
So
me.
the answer is, all this year and a half, he didn't pay you.
Well, that's the Hollywood side of it. He is also my agent. So as my agent, he constantly would tell me, well, Roy, as soon as these deals break, I'll have the money for you. He's a very smooth talker. It's what he does.
Just a second. So you were working for him, but he was also your agent and supposedly working for you.
Yes.
He needed money because Clarence never got him any work as a writer. So Clarence said, well, work for me as well while we're trying to get all this done.
Plus, I had a full-time job all this time.
How do
This
you
was just
expect?
additional
Are you
work.
a writer, sir?
No, I'm not a writer.
Well, what do you do?
I manage some writers, and I arrange funds for various film projects. And I was
When did you give him this computer to keep for you?
It was in March or April or something like that. I don't remember. But I know that what had happened, as I said, the apartment flooded. We had to leave the apartment until they fixed it. And I didn't want to put it in storage. He was working on the play. So therefore, I was trying to be a decent person and just let him keep it. But he said that John owed him money, and that I owed him money. He has never given me any invoices. I've not ever paid. He wasn't working for me. He had a full-time job. How could he work for me?
He has copies of
I
the
work
invoices.
all day.
Clarence, I worked for you weekends
have
and
not
after
worked
work
for
all the
me.
time. I was at your house burning the midnight oil.
This accordion file on the floor is a partial bit of the work Roy's
Who are
done
you?
for him.
Just a second. Who are you?
I'm his sister. And we
what do
live
you have?
together.
Are
She's
you
the
in
other
business?
plaintiff.
He's suing
She's the
Giselle.
He's
slander.
suing me for slander.
That's the one
No,
who
just a second.
slandered.
You're his sister. Are you in business with him?
I help him out occasionally, but I'm not technically in business with him, no.
This is getting very complicated. How much time do I have this afternoon?
Not much.
Do you, you're Mr. Olden?
Olden Camp, yes. ma'am.
Olden Camp. You have a lot of businesses?
I work full-time job in the daytime. And then
What
I
do you
help
do?
them out. In the daytime, I work administrative services at a company in the Valley. That means we help do supply and for an entire building of 200 people.
And you live alone, sir?
I live with Giselle.
We're roommates.
Right.
Fine. Do you have your own computer?
I have my own laptop computer, yes.
Fine. Give him back his computer. That's one. Give him back his computer. That's the way he makes a living. You don't have another computer, do you?
No, I don't.
His laptop is
just a sec.
mine as well.
What?
We both use the laptop.
Good. You can only use it one lap at a time. His computer goes back there. Now, what's next?
The next is that Giselle.
That's her.
That's her. Call Sloan, who I was working with, who's a business associate, and she will testify. And on the message, Sloan had said, Clarence, you have to listen to this message. I said, I really don't want to listen to it. It wasn't interesting. So she had to finally talk me into listening to it. And I quote exactly to you what Giselle said. It's the most heinous of things that you could ever accuse a human being of. She said, and I'll give you a copy of it, I just want to warn you about Clarence. He had the police come here about 1 o'clock this morning, which is true. I don't know what's wrong with him. He has turned his anger at me and Roy for some reason. You know he was arrested for child molestation last month. He has just lost it. I just want to tell you to watch out for him. Let's have lunch.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I am not in fear of this man.
Why are you not in fear of this drunken guy who gets on the pipe? This guy is dangerous.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Clarence Cheatham, a Hollywood agent, says his former client, Roy Oldenkamp, did not return his computer, and that Roy's sister, Giselle Celine, slandered him.
Did you leave that message on the machine?
Yes, I did.
Would you tell me first why, and then I'd like you to tell me what proof you have that Mr. Cheatham was in fact arrested on a charge of child molestation?
I called and left that message because Sloan, in addition to being a client of Clarence's, is a friend of mine. She's been to my house. We're friends. And I look out for my girlfriends. I'm afraid of this man now, and I wanted her
Joselle, I'm sorry.
What now? That answers the why.
Right.
Now let's go to the proof. What proof do you have
Clarence
that this man,
called.
This man was in fact arrested for anything?
Okay. Clarence called my brother at my home.
This brother?
Yes, he called us to
She
bail
was
him
at
out
the
of
house
jail
at the
that
same
night.
time when he called.
This is my witness who was also there. They were home working. So Roy put it on speakerphone so he could continue working while Clarence was blethering away. And this is the witness that also heard the conversation of Clarence saying, "Come, can you bail me out? I've been picked up on child molestation charges."
Tell me your name, sir.
My name is James Shefflin.
James?
James Shefflin.
Mr. Shefflin.
Yes.
What do you do for a living, sir?
Okay, I manage a rock and roll band, and Roy is stepping up as my publicist. And we do a lot of late evenings. And,
so you were at home in the evening.
I was at his home.
Their home.
Right.
And what happened?
And he got a phone call, and Roy always puts the call on speakerphone.
You mean he picks it up on speakerphone?
I just push speaker.
Push.
You push speakerphone.
So he doesn't have to stop what he's
And
saying.
what did you hear, sir?
I heard that he was calling and asking for help to get out of jail. He said, I need help getting out here. Is there any way you can possibly get me out?
Okay. Mr. Cheatham.
Yes.
Were you, in fact, arrested?
Not for child molestation.
That's not what I asked you, sir.
I'll
no,
tell you
no.
what I-
Listen to me.
Was I
I'm
arrested?
asking you a question.
Was
Were
I
you, in
arrested?
fact, arrested?
Yes, nobody bailed me out.
Mr. Cheatham, you were, in fact, arrested?
Yes.
When?
I have April or February or March, something like that. I don't even remember.
Did you, in fact, call Mr. Oldenkamp?
I didn't. Perhaps John called him. I don't remember calling him.
But you could have.
But I could have.
And you could have called him and asked him to come and bail you out.
You don't bail out child molesters.
Oh, you'd be surprised, sir. You'd be surprised. Did you call and ask them to help you?
No. John is my witness to that. No one. I asked no one because I didn't want anyone to even know that I was there. I was arrested on a $250 charge for disorderly conduct, and hey, you spend one night in jail and you're out.
Just let me ask you this question, sir. Was the original charge disorderly conduct?
That was the original charge.
No, the original charge was child molestation.
Just a second.
Who did
Tell
I
me,
molest?
A Hollywood producer's daughter.
Shh, Mr. Oldenkamp.
A 25-year-old
Mr.
woman.
Hey. Tell me the circumstances surrounding your arrest, sir.
The circumstances surrounding my arrest, I went to help a friend move. She said her car wouldn't start. I was standing there to call AAA. The next thing I knew, all these white policemen were up on me. There were 10 of them. Because somebody had called and said that we were about to rob, John and I were about to rob them. So, they've called a cab, put us in a cab, and then this cab driver said, well, you guys have probably taken us somewhere to rob me. I just laughed, you know. So and he drove us back, left us at the garage, and as soon as I walked out, they didn't touch John. They arrested me for disturbing the peace, disorderly conduct. I have no idea. I was there for one night. It was a $250 fine that every man in that jailhouse laughed at me. You can't get $250. Every man, I'm in there with dope dealers, pushers, murderers, and everything. And here it is that they're laughing at me. I was the butt of their jokes because I couldn't come up with $250 to get out of jail. It was a $250 fine. You will not, you know, so therefore, never for child molestation. A 25-year-old, you don't molest them. You don't molest
What's
a 25-year-old.
I
He
don't know
said
who the
he said a
25-year-old
Hollywood
is.
producer's daughter. Yeah, that's what he said. He said
Clarence
it was a
told me-
Hollywood
when
producer's
Clarence told
daughter.
me on the phone-
25 years old.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What happens? This is the payback that I get. I mean, I hope his bad karma is ending here. I hope people in Hollywood will be warned.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hollywood agent Clarence Cheatham is suing Joselle Celine for slander.
The true text of the conversation as he called us was that, Roy, I'm in jail, I've been arrested. I think he said Van Nuys Police Department. He says, you won't believe it, I was arrested for child molestation. I was drunk, I was at a producer's house. I accidentally grabbed her daughter. Of course, he'd say accidentally. She had a cell phone in her hand, ran in the bathroom, locked the door, and called 911. They
Why
came
don't
and
you ask
arrested me
John?
and took me out of the building. This, I'm just.
Why don't you
ask her,
ask
this
John?
is what the phone conversation was.
Why don't you ask John?
First of all, Mr. Cheatham, how many times have you been arrested in your life?
One. I was shocked. I was shocked to be arrested that time.
Who are you?
My name is John Taylor. We sit together, and I mean the whole child molesting thing is not.
Well, just a minute. Were you there when he made the phone call to the defendant?
No.
Okay, then you can sit down.
But he was there when I was arrested. He knows why I was arrested.
Just a second.
Did I call Roy? That's the issue
No,
here.
you don't know whether he called him or not.
I couldn't call anybody out of the courthouse because
no,
I didn't know
sir,
how to use the
Mr.
phone.
Cheatham, I want to tell you something. I believe, sir, that you called him. There's no question in my mind that I believe that you called him.
I called him.
I did not call Roy. I don't remember calling him. Perhaps John
No,
might
you
have
don't.
called
You
him.
may not remember calling him, but he knows your voice, sir, as opposed to this gentleman's voice.
Well, I don't think he's telling the truth. They're pulling at straws. They're pulling at straws. Giselle lied and said I was a child molester. That's the issue here, that she slandered me to a business colleague of mine. That is what we have. That's what we have. Has nothing to do with that. This is a business client of mine, and you know it.
Just a second. Well, let me ask you this question, madam. Did you believe the fact that he was a child molester?
No, I did not.
Good. Then we don't have a problem.
There you go.
Because in order for you to prove damages, sir, if she published this
She's no
information...
longer working with me.
Listen to me.
She's no longer working with me as a client, so therefore I've lost income.
No, listen.
Okay.
Mr. Cheatham.
Judy, can I just say something?
Mr. Cheatham, there are two things. I have to make a judgment as to whether the phone call was made and whether I believe the phone call was made. I believe the phone call was made. I believe the phone call was made by you, Mr. Cheatham. I don't know whether you were drinking that night or not. This is the person with whom you reside. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So I believe the phone call was made. I believe this person, that he overheard that phone conversation, at least part of it. I don't know why, madam, you felt it necessary to transmit that information to anybody else. There must have been some bad blood, but clearly you didn't believe it, correct?
No, we're not
Did you
friends.
believe?
She did that to malign him because I'm his client.
Did you believe that it was true?
No, I did not.
Did you believe that he had been arrested?
Apparently not. That I had no question. I don't know. That's possible.
That's
but
possible.
as far as him being a child molester, no.
Okay, so you didn't believe it?
No.
Okay, so did you tell anybody else that he was a child molester?
No.
Or that you thought he was arrested for child molestation?
Absolutely.
Did you tell anybody else that?
No.
Okay, so she didn't believe it, so that takes care of that. All right, now I'm going to get to your counterclaim.
I've not been served with such.
You were never served with a counterclaim?
I was never served
You were
with
served
a
by Dan West 2 weeks ago.
I have not ever been served with a cross-complaint. Why would I stand here and lie about that?
Well, I don't know, Clarence. That
Where
sums up the
where
last
would he
half
have
hour.
served me 2 weeks ago?
He served you 2 weeks ago at your abode, wherever
Your
you
Honor,
live.
Well, let me...
I do
just
not
one
have
second.
a counterclaim
Just one
against
second.
me.
I'm
I
gonna
cannot
check
be sued for something that
Listen
I
to
don't
me.
know about.
Listen to me. I'm going to go back and check our court records and see whether or not we are in receipt of a filed counterclaim with proof of service.
Perhaps
Do you understand?
are, but I'm not. And perhaps you are, I'm not. I don't know anything about a counterclaim because I certainly would have answered it.
Well, Mr. Cheatham, you can either finish this case in court today.
I want to finish it today.
Then you want to let me see what this cross complaint is about?
Sure.
Okay. Let me see if I have the papers. Just wait here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's a nut. I can't believe that he started this whole ball rolling in the first place. The man is simply a nut.
Order. Quiet, please.
Mr. Roldenkamp.
Yes, ma'am.
The plaintiff could not have been served 2 weeks ago with your counterclaim,
What?
sir, because you only filed your counterclaim 5 days ago.
It was...
So he can't have been served, sir, with your counterclaim before you filed it. Your countersuit is dismissed without prejudice. You can refile it if you wish and serve him.
that's fine.
And within 48 hours, the computer is to be returned to him.
I don't want him near me to pick up that computer. Can I have someone pick it up?
We will make arrangements for the computer to be picked up.
Thank you. I fear for my safety with him.
You certainly should. We're done.
Step out the back to your right.
Shame on you,
please.
Slum.
Out the back to your right.
On the next Judge Judy.
Man,
Why
guys
are you
need
not
to-
in fear of
need
this
to
drunken
really-
guy who gets on the pipe? This
Well,
guy is
you know
dangerous.
what?
You need to stay away from
That
him.
is defamation of character.
It's
It has
reality,
nothing
darling.
to
It's
do with
reality.
me.
All that I did for you. This
should
is
be
your
ashamed of
payback.
yourself. That's who you
That's
should
your
be ashamed
payback?
Because you're standing there lying and you're implicating me
Your
in
karma,
this.
your karma is
And I
just
don't
in
have
the
anything
doghouse.
to do with it. All
Karma
I did
is
was
about
repeat
money.
what you-
So, once again, what can I say? I was a fool, but I just hope others will learn and be warned that there are types like this that prey on people that come to Hollywood, plan on making a career out here, and then get suckered in, abused, and used. It's a terrible thing.
23-year-old sales agent Vanessa DeVargas is suing her old boyfriend, commercial producer Aaron Latham, 26, for a gym membership, credit cards, and damaging her car.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, miss. Judge, this is case number 429 on the calendar in the matter of DeVargas versus Latham. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
I assume from your complaint that you had a 3.5-year sort of live-in relationship where you were together. Is that right?
About a year and a half, actually. We had a long-distance relationship for 10 months before that, and then lived together for almost about 2 years.
Okay. And now you are no longer together. You say he owes you money.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take these things one item at a time, because that's a more organized way of doing business. Damage to my car, $477.18.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that come about?
I can show you this.
No, tell me.
Okay. I guess I was out of town, and we have a we had a driveway in which my car was parked at the top. I guess either he was on a job or I'm not sure exactly
I backed
what.
into her car.
And
You backed into a car?
Yeah, basically backed into the car and damaged the back end.
Okay. Did you have it fixed right away?
No.
Why?
Because I was trying to get the money from Aaron.
Well, how long did you live together afterwards, after this damage to the car?
Probably another 6 months, maybe.
Now, you can't tell me that during that 6-month period you were trying to get the money from him to fix it.
Yes.
No.
What do you mean, yes?
Yes, I had asked him to please pay for the damages. I was still able to drive my car, considering the damage was in the back.
Mm-hmm.
It's damage that, yes, is kind of expensive, but it's not something that...
It's cosmetic.
It's cosmetic, basically. It's
So
a
how
dent.
much after you broke up did you decide to fix the car?
I didn't fix the car. It's still dented.
Gym membership, $713.12. And this is for a gym membership that you shared and I paid off.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it.
We had decided to get a gym membership at Bally's together. I had put it through my bank. So what happens is every month they would take the funds out of my bank account. Of course, when we broke up, the funds were still coming out of my bank account, and I ended up paying off $1,400, half of which is $713.12.
How long did you use the gym membership after you split up?
I went a few times myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never used the membership, and when we did it, it was a better deal for us both to do it. And
Well, what was the difference? Do you know? Between a single membership and a double membership?
No.
I don't know. And it was something I used it once when we first got it.
Well, the
and
question is, sir, did you obligate her to pay this gym membership because you intended to use it?
I didn't. It was something she wanted to do. You know, she wanted the membership. And
So you just went along for the ride?
well, I thought there was much. You know, as far as the cost of it, I thought it was something we would both cover over.
So did you
time
pay
and-
for any of it?
Oh yeah.
How much did you pay?
I never kept exact track, but probably, you know, over the period of a year, probably $200-300.
And how did you make those payments to her?
Just gave her money here and there.
For the gym?
Well, I gave her money for mini bills at.
For the gym?
No, not specifically for the gym. Not that I can say. All the payments I had given her were larger sums that were
For what?
For, utility bills and gym payments and things like that. So, all in one payment, every month.
Well, let me see. Checks for these large sums of money. You return checks for large sums of money.
There you
I'm basically just pinpointing these items as what I'm suing for. Those canceled checks have nothing to do with these items.
What do they have to do with?
They have to do with other items that...
I disagree with that. Those canceled checks go to a list here that Vanessa had faxed me that I can show the judge also. And those canceled checks correspond with those payments on that and with this, actually. I'd gone down that list and marked off what I felt were fair and reasonable things that she should be paid back for. And on the second sheet...
Well, how much, sir, do you think is fair and reasonable for her to be paid back?
Yeah. Well, on the...
No, is it not a number?
Sorry.
Give me a number.
About $2,800.
And how much have you paid her?
$2,800.
You've paid her $2,800.
Yes.
Does that cover the gym?
Specifically, no, it doesn't cover the gym specifically.
All right. Does that cover the damage to her car?
No, because I've never gotten a total on that.
Can I see the estimate for the damage on your car, please?
Okay.
Just give me the estimate, not a tone. You have a deductible on your insurance?
Yes.
What's your deductible?
I think it's $500.
What do you mean you think?
I'm not sure.
Well, how can I do this if I don't know what your deductible is?
I'm pretty sure it's $500, but I'm not sure.
I still don't understand why it took you so long to even think about fixing the car. Let me see the dent to the back of the car.
It's on the back of that picture. It was something that could have waited. It wasn't something that...
It sure can. It's just like a little kiss.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I had called him, I had paged him. He wouldn't return my pages.
That always happens when somebody owes you money.
Yes.
Especially when the luster of love has worn off.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And later today,
Kids do that when they're in elementary school. They go around and tear each other's posters off.
understand that.
You understand that? You're supposed
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
more adult as you get older.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. After Vanessa DeVargas and Aaron Latham broke up, she says he refused to pay his share of bills and damaged her car.
All right, let's go to the next thing then. Next thing is a credit card that I started for him in my name, $455.09. What's this credit card, sir? Do you know?
Yeah, and I have also paid her back for that.
You have?
Yeah, in that $2,800.
Well, did you use that credit card at all?
No.
Do you have the last statement from the credit card?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have the last statement from the credit card?
Yes. I didn't make one lump sum. But that was the last payment in which I paid off the credit card.
This says that there was a previous balance of $37. How am I supposed to tell whose expenses these are?
In the checks there and in the breakdown of what she says I owed her versus what I've paid her, it kind of shows that I know it's kind of complicated, but...
It is very complicated. I wish you young people who decide to set up housekeeping didn't exchange credit cards. Really very stupid.
I agree.
Never do it again.
Yeah. That's what everybody says. You don't have checks here, sir.
I'm sorry?
You showed me these bills, sir, these checks that you say should total $2,800. They don't even total $1,000.
I don't believe I have all $2,800 worth of checks here because I didn't start to get my checks sent back to me until after this started. I just have to go by what she deducted off the balance, and it shows payments. She dated them on her.
How much did you receive from him in total?
I don't know.
Listen, I can't figure this whole thing out. Nobody can figure this whole thing out. Probably even not an accountant can figure this whole thing out. One thing I do know for sure is that you owe her half of the gym membership. Now, the entire membership was $1,400 and change, so you owe her $700 for the gym membership. That I know for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Fix this little
Can I also
ting
add?
in the back of the car. And I'm giving you...
Okay, thank you.
Fix this little
Can I also
ting
add?
in the back of the car. And I'm giving you $700 for the gym payment because I think that you obligated yourself to pay for this gym. The fact that he didn't use it, that's his problem. He was there, he thought it was a good deal, he's got to pay for part of it, and he can't establish to my satisfaction that he's ever paid any part of that. You wanted to say something else?
I wanted to add that I had tried times to make arrangements to meet with him. I had called him, I had paged him. He wouldn't return my pages. One time, I had to pretend that I was somebody else so that he would call me back, and he did. So this is why this has gone on for so long, because I have never been able to reach him or find him or...
Right?
Yes.
I sort of
So-
like that bird.
I like
Luster
that.
of love.
Yes.
Especially when the luster of love has worn off.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I sort of
So-
like that bird.
I like
Luster
that.
of love.
I'm gonna write that down.
So,
So that is why this has been drawn out for so long, and I
Mr.
took it
Vargas,
to court.
put a period. Move on with it.
Okay.
I'm giving her a judgment for $1,000. Fix the dinghy on your car. Help you pay for the gym membership that you probably paid off. Do me a favor, you get another boyfriend? Keep your credit cards under lock and key.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
All right. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Here's your paperwork.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
And now the next case.
Parties on Buffa versus Paz Martinez. Step forward, please.
40-year-old student Charles Buffer says fellow student Karen Paz, 25, tore down his campaign posters at Los Angeles City College and ruined his chances of becoming student vice president.
Which one of you is Miss Marti? Office of Vice President, according to your papers of a school organization. The Office of Vice President, according to your papers of a school organization. And Miss Martinez was your adversary.
Yes, Your Honor.
Was this college?
Yes, Your Honor.
Which school?
LACC, LA City College. Yes, Your Honor.
And according to your complaint, Miss Martinez and/or Miss Paz took down 6 of your posters.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you are suing them for $72, which is the cost of the posters, and you also lost the election.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. How do you know that they took down the posters?
Okay, Your Honor, first of all, number one is that I found the poster, let me bring this up to you. I found the poster in the location of where this lady was. Number two is they admitted it to me the next day.
All right, tell me about the admission.
And I, with the election chair commission lady who's here with me today, will testify that they admitted that she tore down the posters.
Who tore down the posters?
Miss Karen Paz over here.
Did you tear down the posters?
No, not all.
Not all?
No.
Did you take down some?
2.
Order.
You took down some.
2, yeah.
Why?
That was my mistake.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
Also, too, I'd like to bring up, too, that she also signed an affidavit saying she did do this, okay?
Well, let me see the affidavit.
Okay, I'd have to come up to you or have him bring it to you. You see, Your Honor, it isn't about money here. It's about principle. You destroyed something to me in hopes of not getting me elected to try to hamper me from getting elected is what this girl did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I plan on pursuing something honest where you don't have to use deceit and trickery to win an election. By tearing up stuff, that is not right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 40-year-old student Charles Buffa says fellow student Karen Paz, 25, tore down his campaign posters at Los Angeles City College and ruined his chances of becoming student vice president.
Well, why are you suing Miss Martinez?
Because Miss Martinez was the one that I was running against, Your Honor.
But why are you suing her?
And because when we went in that day and confronted her with the election committee lady.
Confronted whom?
Well, we confronted Miss Paz in the office, okay? She admitted that, well, she said, well, she told me to do it, and then you yelled at me and said, well, they weren't stamped. So that gave you the authority and the orders to give her to tear up my posters because you wanted so bad to get elected, Your Honor. That's what happened. And that day, she admitted it to me and to the other lady sitting here on her orders that that's why that was done.
Who admitted it? Miss Martinez?
Miss Paz.
I'm not talking about Miss Paz. Miss Paz has already admitted she took down a couple of posters.
And then when I said...
I'm talking about Miss Martinez.
Yeah, yes,
She's guilty.
Yes, Your Honor. Then when I said to Miss Martinez, I said, well, why did you tell her to do that? Well, Mr. Buffett, your posters aren't stamped. I don't blankly give a damn.
Miss Martinez, did you say to Mr. Buffett your posters aren't stamped?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Put that down, sir. I don't need visual aids. Pass visual aids. Stop getting so excited, sir. This is not an election for state senator or president of the United States. I know that you're emotional.
Well, you know, it's the principle.
I know it's principle. I know. Kids do that when they're in elementary school. They go around and tear each other's posters off.
That.
You understand that? You're supposed to be more adult as you get older.
That's correct.
Miss Martinez.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever tell Miss Paz to take down his posters because they weren't stamped?
No, Your Honor. There's no reason why I should do it.
Okay. Do you have information with regard to that?
Yes, I do,
Step
Your
up
Honor.
here and tell me who you are.
My name is Felice Dooley, and I was chairperson of the election.
Did you ever speak to Miss Martinez with regard to these posters?
Yes, I did. I spoke with Miss Martinez, and Miss Paz confronted them. I asked Miss Paz if she took down the posters, and she admitted she took down the posters. And after words of exchange, explicitives that she shouted at me or what have you, she was extremely belligerent.
You're not following me. I asked you a direct question. My direct question to you was, what information do you have that Miss Martinez had a guilty? I tell you what, to make it easier, you sit down. Guilty. I tell you what, to make it easier, you sit down.
Miss Martinez told me that she was aware that Karen Paz took down the posters.
Being aware doesn't make her guilty in the eyes of the law.
No, she did not tell me that she directed Miss Paz
to take them down. Do you have any, Mr. Buffer?
Yes.
How old are you, by the way, sir?
Too old.
No, I'm too old. How old are you?
40.
Okay.
I'd say I tell you I was 21, but I know you won't believe it.
I certainly wouldn't. I tell people I'm 21 all the time. They don't believe me.
Your Honor, it's the thing of it is that what motive would this girl have to do it? She knew she was running against me. That's why she did it.
Mr. Buffer.
What motive do I have?
You're 40 years old, so you should have a certain amount of life's experience, including life's experience. You also have experience watching a lot of television, being inside of courts, right?
Yeah, that's
Your
correct.
feelings are not particularly relevant. The fact that somebody had an opportunity or inclination doesn't necessarily make them guilty. You have to have proof that they're guilty before a court finds them guilty.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do you have any proof against Miss Martinez that she either instructed or directed anyone else to remove your posters?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
well,
Your
let
Honor.
me hear it.
Okay. Well, the day we went in that day into that office, when I asked her, why did you tell her to take down the posters, her reply to me was, well, your posters weren't stamped, so I told her to take them down. She had every right to do so. That's what she said to me.
I did not tell him.
I don't believe that.
No,
Mr. Buffer?
That's what you did.
Mr. Buffer?
That's correct.
Listen to me.
I'm listening.
I don't believe she said that to you.
Well, I say she did say that words to me.
Did she say to you, were they stamped?
No, she said your posters weren't stamped. I gave her the authority to take them down because they weren't stamped.
No, I did
and
not
that's
say
why
that.
I said they are stamped. Here they are.
I did not say that.
I don't believe that. But you are entitled to a judgment, sir. You are entitled to a judgment against the person who has been proven guilty in this court, and that is Miss Paz.
That is correct.
Well, so it cost you, according to you, $72 for these posters. That's the amount of money that you're suing for. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor. I appreciate that, Your Honor.
That's what you have. Thank
but
you.
You know
I'm glad
what?
you
It's
appreciate
principle. That's what it is, not the money. It's appreciate that, Your Honor.
That's what you have. Thank
but
you.
You know
I'm glad
what?
you
It's
appreciate
principle. That's what it is, not the money. It's principle.
And what is my principle?
Parties are excused and they step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Thank you.
And on the next Judge Judy.
And I plan on pursuing something honest where you don't have to use deceit and trickery to win an election. By tearing up stuff, that is not right.
She is a friend.
Oh, a friend. I love that. A friend. I love that, you guys. That's so cool. She's a friend, so help her tear the posters down to get her election. You got to be honest. You're not going to win an election being dishonest. You're going to get caught sooner or later. And it came down on her. And that's it. She lost. And I feel good about it. I'm very happy today in court. I couldn't be better.
25-year-old Jennifer Trombley is suing her husband, Russell Trombley, claiming he physically abused her throughout their marriage. Mr. Trombley's countersuit alleges that his wife has a drug problem and has neglected their daughter.
Order, all rise. Judge, it's number 159 on the calendar in the matter of Trombley versus Trombley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You two folks are married, in the process of getting a divorce. You've been married for 2 years. You have a 2-year-old child, Mrs. Trombley. I have your complaint. You are seeking $5,000 from your husband for emotional stress.
Yes, I am.
Well, I'd like you to tell me about it. You have a countersuit. I'll hear that in a minute. Go ahead.
Well, I'm really suing because he broke into my best friend's house.
I tell you,
was
this
there.
has nothing to do with your best friend's house. There's nothing in here in the complaint about
Well, he
your
broke
best
in there
friend's
and
house.
attacked me.
Well, let
That's
me hear
what
about
brought
it.
this complaint.
Let me hear about it. The attacking you is something else. Let me hear about the attacking you.
Once he entered the house,
Yeah.
He ran through the house and threw me against the wall and kicked me and then left with our daughter screaming in the living room.
What had precipitated this?
I hadn't come home the night before because
Why not?
Because I was afraid of getting hit. And when I did come home in the morning, he raised his hand to me, and if he hadn't seen my friend, he would have hit me.
That's untrue. There was no threat of violence of her coming home at any point ever. She was with her friend partying late into the night.
He says you do drugs, Mrs. Trombley, and that you depleted the bank account of your family, took checks out, forged checks, ran up bills, forced them into bankruptcy, all because you were doing drugs and staying out, partying with your friends, etc. Any of that true?
Some of it's true.
What's true?
I do have a past history of drug abuse.
We're not talking about past. We're talking about current.
No, I don't.
What makes you think she has a drug problem?
Oh, I have all kinds of ample evidence to prove that she has a drug problem. Just as of July 18th, I got a call from Burbank Police Department who had just arrested a drug dealer, stating that he had my calling card. I have here 12 pages of the calls that this man made with my calling card. Who was given?
Who is this man?
This man's name is nicknamed Morbid.
You know that person?
Yes, I do.
Well, what does he do for a living?
He deals drugs, right, Jen? He deals drugs.
What does he do for a living?
He doesn't really do much for a living.
He deals drugs. And this is Jen's main drug dealer. This is a man that she went to Mexico with.
While you were married?
What? Last month.
Is that right?
Yes.
Terrific.
My wife disappeared for 3 days on the premise that she was going to look for jobs. At 2 p.m., with no hassle, no fighting, we had made love in the morning. At 2 p.m., she said, I'm on my way to go put some applications in. I did not see my wife for 3 days, at which she had taken both sets of our car keys and left me in the care of our daughter. I have a full-time job. I had to take 3 days off from work. On the third day, risking financial ruin and losing my job, I had to take my 2-year-old daughter to work with me. No calls from my wife.
Does that sound familiar to you, Miss Trombley?
Yes, that's all true. And it was all because I was afraid to come home because he was hitting me.
Afraid to come home, so she takes a vacation with a drug dealer to Tijuana, Mexico.
Mr. Trombley,
Order.
let me tell you this, sir. Let me tell you this. I read your answer to her complaint. Her complaint is nonsense. I don't know whether you hit her when you got into the house.
I'll explain to you exactly the events preceding that incident.
Your Honor, we have 2 separate police reports for domestic violence.
We have
and a
one
restraining order
police
that was
report.
put on against him.
Was there
for
ever a
my
trial
protection.
on that restraining order?
Yes, there was.
And what happened to it?
What happened to it?
Today, that case was settled and dropped, plead out.
What do you mean, settle, drop, plead out? What does that mean?
I pleaded no contest to 1 count of battery.
Does that have to do with this incident? That
It has to do with the incident where I pushed my wife away from a front door for not taking our personal life into a hallway.
Was that at her friend's house? Just
Yes.
a second.
Yes.
This is the incident at the friend's house.
Yes, let me...
Let me.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll ask you to fill in so that there is some semblance here. According to your answer, she had gone over to her friend Lori's house, right? And this was after she had disappeared for a few days.
No, that's...
She had already disappeared. There were periods of time, according to your answer, sir, that she had left you in care to care for your daughter.
Yes.
And you were afraid that when she went to Lori's house and didn't come home right away, that she was going to do it again.
Well, let me explain a little bit earlier in the evening. It was that very morning that I was late for work. My wife came home at 6:30, where I would have had to have left at 10 of 6 to make it to work. She knows this. We've had many, many fights about it. It's when she showed up with Lori, I did go like this in anger, not to hit her, but just as a show. I'm this angry. How could you do this to me again? That very night, when I came home from work, Lori and Jen and Aubrey were there in the house. They said, we're going to take Aubrey out and get some shoes. They left. They came back at, I'm sorry, at 7:30 p.m. while I was watching TV. My daughter comes through the front door crying. But my wife did not come through the door. I opened up the front door, and my wife was at the bottom of the stairs and says to me, I'm going to the car for a minute. 5 minutes later, she didn't come back from the car, and the car was gone. It's at that time that I assumed she probably went back over to Lori's. I drove over there with my daughter, and that's where she was. I found that that was kind of peculiar.
You weren't screaming your head off.
I wasn't screaming at anything.
Mr. Trumbley.
Yes. May I continue?
No. Because while I can smell a drug problem from at least 15 feet away, and she has a drug problem.
Yes, that's true.
Based upon my assessment of her demeanor and based upon the things that she has said to me so far, I have some trouble with your response. And let me tell you why, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm just a hardworking guy. I have no record. I've never been expelled from school. I'm nothing but a decent guy that was raised the right way.
And later today,
you came in with your girlfriend, Christina, who now lives with you. Who
I'm going to have him live with me?
Who is your lover? Admit it, okay?
Okay.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Russell Trombley denies his wife Jennifer's allegations of abuse and claims she's guilty of neglecting their daughter.
You have a 2-year-old daughter. You say you know your wife has a current drug problem.
Yes.
If your wife has a current drug problem, I don't care what you have to do, you make sure that your wife is never left in charge of your child. You didn't do that. What you wanted her to do was to be around to take care of your daughter. Just a second. And I don't care if you have to get a babysitter. I don't care if you have to quit your job. I don't care what you have to do. You do not leave a drug user in charge of a 2-year-old baby, and I don't care if the drug user is your wife. Number one. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Number two. According to your answer, sir, you went over to the house, to this Lori's house, because you didn't want to be in the position again of having to look for somebody to take care of your daughter when you had to go to work the next morning and you had an early morning call. Is that right?
Yes. We've exhausted all of our daycare issues. My wife left our daycare with a $300 bill that we owed them.
Sir.
We had no one else. We have no
Sir,
relatives here.
So let me tell you this. There are many people, unfortunately, in your position whose mate, whether it be a husband or a wife, has a drug addiction problem. You're supposed to try to be supportive of each other if you can, but at that
you.